intergenerational traumas, we are talking about years of generational challenges, generational scars, and generational pains within families, within societies, within communities, within nations, and even within at a continental level. So I want us to appreciate this. We come a long way as a people. We come a long way as Africans from a time where we believed we knew who we are, and we believed we knew where we are going and who we were as a people, to a time when they came in issues of colonialism, to a time where, I define me as the stolen generation, to a time of the generation that had to experience it all, the discrimination, the rape, the molestation, the slavery, all sorts of things. And when we talk about that generation particularly, here we are talking about wounds, about scars, about deep, very deep and very complex wounds that were experienced and that we never got to heal from as a people. And whatever that was experienced right now, it's felt a long way into a personal level, a social, a spiritual. As a collective, we are feeling and we are living the state of those pains. There was a study that was done some time back, I think in the USA, where they were actually assessing the children and the grandchildren, of the people who survived the Holocaust. And it was found that they showed signs of anxieties and PTSD at a very young age. And you look at it, you're like, but this person has never experienced any form of severe stress. And you look at it, that's where it was now justified to say, okay, fine, trauma can be passed from one generation to another. And as Africans, we are actually an example of people that have witnessed traumas, because where we are right now, there's a lot that is happening, and a lot that if we are to look back, we can actually verify or actually explain it by going further, going back to who we used to be. And today we are coming together, we are coming to say there's a world out there that is expecting us to make better decisions, to change the narratives, to make decisions that are shifting the status quo, be it in our political status, be it in our financial, economic stabilities as a continent, be it
This meeting is being recorded.
Be it in our dealings as a people. And that means one way or the other, people have to heal, because you can never make a good decision coming from a bleeding, a wounded heart. One way or the other, it calls on a person to heal, because we have had experiences that have redefined who we are as a people, redefined our identity, our connections as a people, redefined our connections with our land, and we need to figure out a way. So today with us, we have an array of amazing speakers that are coming to help us appreciate the intergenerational traumas, be it at a family level, be it in our dealings with our boy child, in our communication with our men, be it in our professional level, to understand this trauma and to understand a way in which we can break out of this vicious cycle of trauma as a people. They are coming in to come and help us, to assist us, to share the information in healing from these different traumas. And one thing that I could say to any person listening today is that it's the duty of every generation to do things differently, better than the former generation. Where we are right now, we are the generation that has to take it upon ourselves to break us from all these cycles of intergenerational traumas, to break us out, because at the end of the day, we can't be caught up in fighting battles that we don't know, but those battles are still defining us today. Be it the battles of discriminations, we're still fighting them. Be it the battles of, identity and trying to show up and trying to fit in, we still fight them. Be it the battles of feeling like there is much that has been taken away from us, be it the battles of poverty, we still see them, and they are defining us. They are defining our relationship with our money, defining our relationship amongst ourselves, defining our relationship with ourselves as an individual. And today we are coming in to say, okay, fine, let's understand those and let's try and thrive forward together. Let's try and heal together and build this Africa. I'm a believer that Africa is on a rise. And the only thing that Africa is missing out is the individuals, the people that make Africa to rise on the wings of change and actually become part of the change that we want to see in Africa. It may have it may have not started with you, but it can end with you if you choose intentionally to. They say trauma not transformed, is trauma transferred. And today we are stopping the transferring of trauma. And we are saying, we are talking about the incarcerated, how it has shifted us so much that we are seeing our boy child in prisons, our girl child in prisons. We are talking about our interrelations as a people, learning to work together, how it has affected, all these traumas have affected us. And we are saying we can thrive forward. We can become anything that we ever aspire to be, but it starts with us rebuilding from the foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So now I'm going to, first of all, call upon our speakers to please introduce yourself. Just say your name and where you're from. We want to say I want to say a formal welcome to all of you before we go into the real deal. So I'm going to, first of all, let me start with Dr. Nkoko, right? I don't know if I pronounced the name very well. Dr. Nkoko.
I think let me assist you with the names and with calling them up. I think maybe let me just look at to who is there. Dr. Nziki, if you can kindly greet the viewers and maybe introduce yourself a bit.
Or any of the speaker can actually do that. If you're available, just introduce yourself, tell us where you're from. We'd be glad to hear you.
Yes. No, she's here.
All right, good day, everyone.
Good day.
Yeah, my name is Ezekiel Ahamba from Nigeria, from Abuja, Nigeria. It's so good to be here and so nice to speak to us on this topic. God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Who again is online with us? Dr. Bonolo.
Right? Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you so much. This is Dr. Nziki Ngcoco. I'm from South Africa. I'm the founder of Power to Lead with Integrity. I'm an international public speaker. I'm the coach and the author. And I love, to work with young people. I love to work with myself first so that I can be able to work with others. I'm a mother. I have a daughter, I think of your age, in the house. So this is life for me to be with the people. Thank you so much for bringing me in this wonderful and great topic for all of us to heal and grow together. Thank you.
Very welcome, very welcome. The next speaker, please introduce yourself. I can see Mrs. Bonolo. Is she here? I can also. Oh,
hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I am Bonolo Palaga Ntoiwa from Botswana. I am a certified family and transformation coach. I am an accredited corporate trainer. I also do the family show on one of the biggest radio stations in Botswana. Thank you so much. I'm excited about this meeting.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I don't know if there's any other speaker that is here. Please introduce yourself. Okay, good.
Greetings to everyone.
Greetings.
Can you hear me?
Very well. We can hear you.
Okay. My name is Mrs. Begezela Maunze. I'm a mother of 2 grown-up men who are married as well, and I've been married for 37 years with 3 grandchildren. Professionally, I did electrical engineering, and for 7 years, I've worked for the SADC School of Mines. Currently, we are running a company with my husband where we manufacture electrical switchboards. But generally, I'm also a volunteer as a national director for Alpha Outreach Botswana, which is part of an international organization called Alpha International, whose mission and vision is to see the evangelization of the nations, the revitalization of the church, and the transformation of the society. And in that work, we deal with prisons. So I've been in various prisons in Botswana conducting some transformational issues, hence dealing with the topic on transformation of the incarcerated today. Thank you so much. And even this morning, I was at the prison.
Good to know you. Good to know you. And you actually have time for us again. Come on.
All right.
Mrs. Vera, are you here? Okay. Since he's not here, I think we'll now go into the reason why we're here, because I'm also excited. I don't know about you, really. I really want. It's like this topic. I told Patricia before. Seems like this topic is something people don't really want to talk about. Maybe they're afraid of touching some sensitive areas and all that. And I'm really glad, so excited to be here for this particular topic. So, Mrs. Patricia, over to you. Please call upon the first speaker to share with us what they have for us today.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pepper. You know how it's often said charity begins at home. It all starts at home. Whether it's our brokenness, our scars, our hurts, it starts from home. The dysfunctionality in our home is what we end up showing in the society and in the community out there. So we thought we start today with the family, intergenerational traumas at a family level. And I want to take this opportunity to welcome Bonolo Palagaye to come and talk about intergenerational traumas from the family setup from home. Bonolo, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Pat. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Please excuse my shaky voice. I just lost my grandmother last night. As you know, as Africans, our grandmothers raised us. Our mothers had us when they were young. So, when she goes back to pursue her education and, look for jobs and everything, you are left with the granny. So my grandmother was my best friend. She raised me. I loved her so much. She loved me. So last night, I had to witness her take her last breaths, after a long, long illness. And so it's really mixed emotions for me. One, I'm relieved that, she is no longer in pain. It was difficult, even trying to work and thinking, my mother is in pains wherever she is. And on the other hand, I'm like a bit hurt that I will never see her again. But I believe her spirit lives on. She is the one really who helped, with, laying the foundations for us. The values that we have now really started with her. And really, she did a lot of work. And last night, in that unconscious state of hers, I came closer to her and said to her, Granny, you raised us. You did a good job here on earth. You discharged completely. And I've listened to you many times say you are ready to go. And when I asked you why you were ready to go, you said, I've done everything that I could. I go empty back and I want to rest. So excuse my shaky voice, but otherwise, I loved this topic so much. And I know my grandmother would not want me to not be a part of such a conversation just because she is sleeping. I know that she will be very proud of me, really, composed right now, to really be a part of this conversation while she rests like that. So thank you so much for the invitation, Patricia. First of all, I love family so much. I'm a family person, and I think my love for family started when I realized I'm a very affectionate person. Like, even with my friends, I like touching people, I like hugging and all that. And I realized that it's one of those things that were not there at home. And I was like, really, why can't we touch each other as a family? I was so close to my grandmother, but I know I could touch her, she could touch me, she used to kiss my hand, but I didn't see that happen with other children. And I was like, but honestly, do we really know what what love is like at a family level. And at that point, I decided that when God blesses me with my own family, it's going to be that very good example of what a family has to be. But before then, I had started to really, create that atmosphere where with my brother and sister, I'm the firstborn. I have a young brother, a young sister, and honestly, we need to just touching. And this is, for me, very important as a child who grew up secret. And as you probably know, as an African, so for me, I really wanted to see, and for the longest time, I felt like I don't. For me, just touch, just to be able to have a family member, and for me, very, very, very important. SFM is our base. It's where we come from. It's where we'll end up. If I walk in the mall and I collapse, the first thing people would do is to take me to the hospital. Next, they would want to phone family to say, your family member is not well. So it's where we come from. It's where we will end up. I believe that the family unit is a very important unit of society. But I believe that over time, this unit it began to disintegrate, and the effects are now, evident wherever we go. I mean, you can talk of just what is happening right now, the killings, passion killings, this wayward behaviors, robberies, all these bad things that are happening around us. They don't just happen. It started somewhere. So it says to us, we've been raising criminals. Our families have created, such people. And until we take ownership of where these people come from, and that they come from us and our own workmanship, we will be far from really, restarting and, just re-engineering, or maybe simply put, to really go back to just how we raise our children and just how we groom the family. So the family unit disintegrating like that and seeing the effects, I'm worried as a family coach that we have now maybe even normalized a whole lot of social ills. I think so. I do a weekly radio show. It's a family show. So I'm throwing the topics that are really challenging family to really look within, because now we have tend to blaming everyone, especially government, as Africans. But on my show, you don't call in and say government said 1, 2, 3, this act or the law hinders me from raising good children. I don't get such calls anymore, because I feel like the shifting the blame has actually created this comfort at home, such that the family has even shifted responsibility to schools, to government, to other institutions except them. I used to have parents call and say, these children, as if they're not talking about their own children. This worries me so much. And even the past Sunday, I had a topic where I was asking people to call in and tell me how they are going to, what their contribution is going to be in ending and stopping completely gender-based violence. I didn't get not even a single caller who could say, I will do 1, 2, I commit to do 1, 2, 3. They wanted to talk about other people, not themselves. And my show runs for 3 hours. So in 3 hours, I could not get one person who could call in and say, I choose to do 1, 2, 3. because, we are on the 16 days of activism, where we are intensifying talks and teachings on gender-based violence. So our radio shows have to also align with whatever is going on. So that was my way of, also participating in the 16 days to bring a show where we can talk about these things as families. So I believe we have so much under our control as families, and as long as we don't think we do, we are far from addressing the issue. And one of those issues is definitely the issue that brings us together this afternoon or evening or morning, depending on where you are in this world, which is intergenerational traumas. And I just want to go into just how they show up in the family, and maybe even touch in some of more of some of the things that are really regular now in families. And one of those is the abuse that we see, children growing from abuse, families where there's abuse. I used to be a teacher before. I'm a former teacher, secondary school teacher, at a very young age, and I had a class that had about 40 students, and half of the class was just challenged. So every morning when I go for registration, I'm going to find a student crying. And when I sit down with the students, it's either, disgusting things, honestly. One of the days I was so disgusted that student A was crying because student B was telling her that her father is dating her mother. So you see, and on that day, we were supposed to be, there was an activity that we did as schools to raise funds, where students come on their own clothes and pay some little something as a fundraiser. So student A was putting on those old clothes because obviously, the father has neglected the family, was working at the time. So student B is getting all the benefits, and was wearing something new and telling student A that, but look at you, these clothes that I have on, they were actually brought by your father. Why didn't he buy you clothes? Such things. And I had another student who came late every day, and in our schools, we just resort to students because they came late. I know it's less these days. Teachers are now doing a great job in trying to really get to to the bottom of things, to understand why the student is late every day. When I sat down with my student, she said to me, "Ma'am, I can't leave home before my father, because should I leave, I'm going to find my mother with all the bruises and everything." It was tough. I was you know who my father was. I was interested in really knowing him, meeting him, but I just couldn't voice it. So it's at different levels, and these traumas, these children, they get traumatized. They get traumatized so much, and so there is that abuse. Children who were neglected, they will have some sort of resentment, and because children, I think they mostly want to, they mostly think that they are at fault. When parents divorce, they think they are the cause of the divorce. When the parent is sick, they just think that they had some contribution somehow. So those are some of the things. These are some of the reasons why we get people with these traumas that they grow with. Family secrets is one such problem. African families have secrets, and they even say it as if it's okay with everyone, where they say, that every family has its own secret, or that's a family secret. Where someone sternly says, we don't talk about that. Meanwhile, they're probably talking about your paternity. You want to know your father. And then somebody says sternly that that's a no-go area. Family secrets are destroying those who think that the family is holding some secret about them, and those who are holding the secret because they're constantly managing that the secret doesn't come out. And that is stressful and too much. Fatherlessness is one of the reasons why we have all these traumas. Abandoned children, losses, parents who raise us, they probably also experienced these traumas. They also maybe come from dysfunctional families. And honestly, you can't pass on a skill that you don't have yourself. You can't teach what you don't know. So they are only, teaching us what they know, and they are parenting us, the best way they know. So these are some of the problems that we see in families. So I want to move on to just what we can do. I will just touch a few of what I think should work for us. First is, to learn to communicate as Africans, to learn to talk openly, to communicate openly, to be honest with each other. I've created a number of programs, family coaching programs. I've created the first one I created is family retreats, where I take families for retreats, just to create a safe space for them to be able to talk, table issues, come and see if they're still aligned, they're still of the same belief system, if that no one is aggrieved and stuff like that. And again, the family retreats could be for families that indeed have challenges. They need a mediator, in which case I come as a family mediator. I do have also a program I called Reveal It, and I was running away from family secrets because I knew that if I put it out there that it's about family secrets, no one is going to take that program because no one wants you to, it's a no-go area. But the emancipation, the healing that comes with the truth being put on the table, no matter how messed up that truth is, when it's told, when you have been able to receive it, process it, and accept that's your truth, the emancipation is amazing. And so our healing, our emancipation could be just on the other side of a truth that has been told. And I've also said, I don't even think that these are family secrets. I don't think they're family secrets. I think these are truths that have been hidden. These are hidden truths. So I don't know. We believe as Africans that the truth shall set you free. We read that even in scripture. We say it all the time. We even have it in our mother language. In Setswana, in my language. But then I don't know where we choose to believe that and where we just don't want to use the same phrase that we believe is for us and can actually help us. So that communication is very important. One. Secondly, the truth. Two. Thirdly, love. Do we know what love is? I think we need to really define love as Africans. And, I think this one, love is an emotion. Right here, I'm going to bring...
Can I kindly ask you to wrap up because of time?
Okay. So at this point, I want to bring emotions, because love is an emotion, trust is an emotion, all these things that we want. If you are going to go for therapy, obviously you have to have some sort of some level of trust in the therapist to help you, forgiving yourself, respecting yourself, loving yourself. So emotions in our formal and informal education, emotions are not a subject on the table at all. So we've learned, and we are praised and for suppressing our emotions. We are not allowed to suppress our emotions. I've just now I'm coming from my grandmother's place, and my uncle was coming through, and he's been traveling since he was told, because he stays 1,000 kilometers away. And when he came in, he just broke down, just seeing his own people there, knowing that his mother is not there. And, people were quick to stop him from crying. And, because, and I know first it's because it's a man. If it was a woman, I know they would treat it differently. So the subject of emotions has to be tabled everywhere. We need to get this skill and allow people to express their emotions. And this notion that men should be tough and should not cry and they should not show or express emotion needs to be changed. Thank you so much. This is, I could go on and on and on, I know, but in the interest of time, I hope that I've shared
I can actually sense the passion from all the way here. I can actually sense the passion that you're showing as you're talking about the subject. So I'm going to open up for questions from the other moderators and from the floor. But to kick us into the questions, I think one thing that I want us to, what I want you to try and bring emphasis on a bit is on this issue. And I think you did touch on it a bit. Family can keep alive from one generation to the other, can keep abuse alive from one generation to the other, and not even reach a level where we talk about it and we heal from it and we move away from it. And I realized one of those problems is the fact that is what we call minimization, ignoring the impact of trauma and making things appear so small. And I know as I've been interacting with young girls from all across Africa, there's this common thing that is there in our culture, in our community, where a young girl can actually get maybe molested by an uncle, and it goes all the way to the police. But for some reason, when family comes and say, let's go deal with this as a family, it's actually cancelled out, and nobody ever takes the liberty of saying, okay, this has happened to this young girl. She needs to heal. She needs to reach her state of healing. And there's no need to ignore it or to minimize it or to even say, it's your uncle. How can you go about it and do this? Even all the way to what you talked about of when a boy child is crying and having to remind them that, you are a man, you are a boy, you can't do this, girls are the ones who can do this. And we get to ignore and minimize somebody else's pain because of the reasons that we feel they actually cover onto the family. And I think maybe talk a bit to us on that as a way of helping us to understand, because we are saying we need to heal, we need to move out of this vicious cycle of intergenerational traumas. How do we reach a level where we stop minimizing and ignoring the impact of trauma and stop the trauma that we have kept alive in our families for so many generations? Because I can tell you there'll be families where your elder sister or your mother was raped by her uncle, and you get raped by your uncle, and for some reason it's something that's there. There are communities where your cousin can sleep with you, it's an okay thing, and even if you report it like it's your cousin, that's what cousins do, even when you didn't like it. And this is abuse kept alive in a family. How do we reach a level where we are able to stand up for that and actually heal from such?
Thank you, Pat. I don't know if I should maybe take all the questions and address all of them at the same time. Are there any questions?
Let me allow the moderators, two of them, to ask their questions, and then you take the questions of the moderators together, and then from there we can get to those that are written on the comment section.
Yeah, great. So just a very quick suggestion, Patricia. Would it be okay if we allow other speakers to share with us what they have for us today while we take record of the questions on the chat box? So when we get to the question and answer section, we can be able to ask them their questions one by one. I don't know if that is okay to save our time also.
That sounds okay, Papa. But she had asked to be excused, so I think it's best if we can ask whatever that we want to ask, and then we can excuse it.
Okay, then we work on your question and answer now. So while you were talking about you gave one solution, which is communicating openly, right? So I just want to ask you, do you think we need to first consider how safe the environment is for us before we can be able to open up? Or do you think we shouldn't care about how safe or whatever people might say and just open up or communicate openly?
Thank you.
Ms. Ria, do you have a question?
Hello?
Yeah, we
Emma.
can hear you.
Yes, I'm very interested in that answer as well.
So you can go on. I think she's waiting to hear from you
Okay.
also.
Okay, Bonolo, so you can go
Okay.
on and answer the two questions.
Okay, thank you so much. The hiding the abuse or any thing abnormal and unacceptable in families is very, very common. Like I said earlier about family secrets, those are some of the family secrets, and it really originally it's something that they feel ashamed of. Maybe it's something illegal, maybe a traumatic situation or anything like that. They start off, initial. I mean, most of them are saying, it was mainly to protect, but honestly, it's not protecting. It's causing more problems. Like I said, also, Patricia, I'm worried that we have normalized some of these things. So even in Botswana, we talk of GBV, we talk of crime and all these things, and families know, they know the perpetrators, but they just won't report because of partly the economic situations where the uncle is the provider, or whoever is just molesting children in the family is the provider, and they just don't want to speak out, because if he gets arrested, then it's a problem for the family. So this is really, really challenging. We need all hands on deck on this one. We need to bring interventions that can really interrupt this, because the conditioning is so deep. There is this thing with Africans, secrets, just even small things that, like, our generation would think it's okay to a child that our relationship with your father didn't work out, but here's your father is so and so, and even encourage a relationship with their father. So we really need all hands on deck in terms of government, civil society, media. Media is the fourth estate. Every families, we need those interventions, and the family has to really, really, really take responsibility and begin to understand that loving a child, protecting a child, telling the truth about what has happened, reporting that perpetrator, it's part of that. It's exactly, it's exactly how you are showing protection, because if we
sorry,
we are not
can
going
I
to,
can I step in 1 second here?
Yeah.
Because it's very important what I hear here. But okay, a kid that has been abused, and I hear you saying that most of the times it's an uncle or a family member that's the provider of the whole family. You see, most of the times what I've noticed is that we are too much um, comparing our societies to the already settled and organized societies in Europe or Western countries. Africa is not yet there, I think. If you say the problem is the provider, then my question is there something in place that in case the person who is the provider for most of the times large family, is there a substitution for that? Are there homes where these families can go to? Is there a subsidy that can help them out once this person falls away? Because I mean, if this kid that has been abused, you go and you report the person who's done this crime, and this child cannot go to school because of that. Does
Yeah,
it make
thank you.
sense?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yes, in other countries, there is something in place, like in Botswana. There is a department, the social society, where they are able to be registered, and they could get, food supplies every month and clothes and all that. Those who go to school be taken care of. But there is definitely a threshold they look at. So sometimes it's just that lack of knowledge where people don't know that there is a provision out there. There is something that can be done about it. So we need to do a lot of sensitization. We need to really get down to because in the cities, the information is flowing, but there are people in rural areas where maybe even radio doesn't reach, no television. You don't get, those quota meetings where the minister is there, or the health team is there, or any authorities are there to talk about, the government programs that they could enroll in. So yeah, that's very, very important. But we see it here quite a lot in our country. Even early, child marriages. We see in other parts of Botswana where children are getting married to older men, and then that's because that man is taking care of that family. They just leave school, and teachers go to their families and they're told she's with her husband, a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 15 years old. So it's deep, and the conditioning is so deep in our people that things like just personal development are very important and key, and maybe should even be from primary school be incorporated in our syllabus, because self-awareness is very important as you grow up. We get many people who talk about being molested when they are maybe 15 years, realizing that, oh, that was molestation, that was wrong, and they were molested at the age 5, 6, 7, around there. So we really need to do a lot of education right there. And then let me talk about communication as I close, asking about the safe space. Yeah, it's very, very important. Right, this Sunday when we, on my show, actually after the show, I was like, I don't get women call, even when it's topics that really concern them. They don't call the radio station. Surprisingly, when there are some promotions going on where you could win a voucher to, go shopping, it's all women calling. But when it's issues like this, when sensitive issues, you don't see them.
About 2 minutes. How about 2 minutes to round up?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I then was like, what is it going to take for us to find them where they are? I know during the times of HIV/AIDS, we government introduced a program where they wanted to find men where they were. So there were messages that, like boards and everything, posters even in bars, wherever men would gather. So, and for us as women, I then said in that conversation, go to the hair salon. Go to the hair salon. Women talk openly. So a safe space is very important. So I think that they are open in the salon because they feel like it's a safe space to speak. And that's why I have a family retreat as a program, because we go to places where we can create that safe space for everyone to talk. So that's very, very key and very, very important. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I
Thank
would
you
like
so
to
much,
end
Fenella.
here and live and love you. I'll watch the recording.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Ms.
you so much,
Patricia,
Fenella.
please, call upon the second speaker so we can hear from you. Please, just to quickly notify us, every speaker has 10 minutes. So I'm going to pay attention to the time this time. I'll always remind you. So 10 minutes to speak words, and we are not going to take any question. Her own is an exception because she's leaving. We have to grant her that, as she told us. So we're just going to allow our speakers finish up with
I have one more question. Can I, before she leaves, or is she gone already?
No, please. Her time is up. Paying attention to time.
Her
I'm
time,
sorry.
her
One
time
more
is
question,
at
darling,
what?
because I know you're leaving soon.
So you drop your
I
question
would
on the
like to
chat.
ask. Yes, can you hear me?
Priya, can you hear me?
Okay, great.
Please, if you don't
One
mind, just
more
drop your
question. Yes.
question.
All I
Priya,
wanted to
can
ask
you hear
is,
me?
yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can.
Please, your question will not be permitted now. You just drop your question at the chat box. We have a lot of speakers here that want to talk on trauma and family issues also. They are going to pick
No,
up the
because
question.
this is the last question. It's because she's leaving, right? And she won't have this question. My question is
suggest
very
that
simple. Do you have a solution for this problem? And what is your call for action? What can we as a community do to help? What can we as
okay,
people in diaspora do to help? You can always answer it later and send it to us in
I'll
the chat
answer.
box so that we don't waste
Yeah,
time. Okay? Thank you
I
so
will
much.
answer the question at the call for action at the end of all the presentation.
Excellent.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you so much for that. See you
Please,
later. Thank
close
you.
the line of the other speakers so that we save their time. As we said, please give us what you have for within 10 minutes, and then we pay attention to the questions. Either we read it out for you or we unmute our mic and ask you questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. What I think, let me start off by saying anybody that have any question for Bonolo, just leave it by the comment section. We'll answer the questions at the end of all the presentation. Yeah, so at this point in time, I'm going to introduce Ezekiel Ahamba from Nigeria. As Bonolo was talking, she kept emphasizing the difference between a boy child and a girl child. And one way or the other, whether we talk about issues of gender-based violences, whether we talk of the passion killings, whether we talk of the incarceration, we always point a finger back to the boy child in our community. And the question is, as a people, what have we done right or wrong to ensure that there is a balance and there is also the mentorship and the nurturing of a boy child in such a way that the expectation of better men in our society is realized. So he is coming in to come and talk about nurturing and doing better with our boy child. Mr. Ezekiel Ahamba, Pastor Ezekiel Ahamba, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, good day, everyone, and thank you very much. I want to sincerely extend my condolence to Onolo and her family, and also to pray that God will comfort them at this time. Thank you all for joining, wherever you are joining from Nigeria here. Say thank you. Now, I am supposed to talk about nurturing the boy child, and let me be very, very honest with us that I am an example, a living example of a failed care, a failed care support for a boy child. I lost my mom at the age of 5. And then because I'm from a polygamous family, my dad had other wives. So he focused on the woman that was alive and then ignored us, I and my siblings, my 4 siblings. And then this exposed me in particular to a lot of ugly experiences that sometimes I think my life would have been far better than it is if not for those experiences as a boy child. Now, after the death of my mom, I was taken by my auntie who ran a restaurant then, and then I had to stay with her. She had like 5 children, okay, 7 children. They all were older than me. So I was like the errand boy, I was the one who was attending to everyone. I attend to my auntie, the husband, and then the 7 children who were all older than me. Now, this gave me a very ugly experience because they abused me. And then something very profound happened, when I was 7. That's like a year after the death of my mom while I was staying with my auntie. There's this apartment next to ours. They had a nanny, an elderly auntie then, who also was trying to show sympathy. And then she started abusing me as a young boy, sexually abusing me as a young boy. I actually haven't told this story to so many people. But then I think it gets us to where we are going, talking about the nurturing of the boy child. Now, these experiences were happening while my dad was alive. Not that he was, and he just felt maybe because my mom was late and then maybe weren't useful anymore. So this exposure tampered with my emotions, left me with lots of injuries, emotional injuries, trauma that it took the grace of God and my salvation to get over them. And that has really given me the burden to reach out to the boy child. And then we're doing a program right now in Nigeria we call Men Emerge. And the purpose of this program is to attend to this boy child, to help them shape their lives up, regardless of the fact that their parents or are alive or their guardians are alive or not. So we need to take the issue of the boy child, the issue of children, raising children in a godly way, in a moral way, very seriously. And I think the problem in Africa is that we don't have strong institutions that it's focused on child support, child rights, and child support. Especially in Nigeria here, I don't even think there's any known institution or government agency that attend to the boy child or children in general. So when a man abandons a woman, the woman has no capacity to raise the child becomes a street child, grows up grabbing different experiences from the street, and then they shape up their life, and then they become the monsters that that is terrorizing the society today. So when we begin to see that the nurturing of a child, especially the boy child, is a collective effort. It helps us to, begin to look out for children, not just ours, but any child that is around us. Because the abuses I suffered were because the woman was trying to help, but with ulterior motive. She had different things in her mind she wanted to achieve. At 7 years old, she was doing all sorts of things that are not right for me to say here. But it's something that left a mark in my life that, if not for God's intervention, probably that would have been the end of me. So I want to say to Africa that every one of us has a role to play in nurturing the boy child. Whether it's your child or the child of your neighbor, the child of your sibling, your child of a relation, you must understand that your contribution to that child will help secure our societies. The reason why Africa, some of the statistics about child labor in Africa shows that Africa is at the top of the chart when you talk about child labor. Africa is like 72 million plus children in Africa are going through child labor. Most of them forced labor, hazardous labor, things that they wouldn't do. And when you look at the age bracket, this is like between the age of 5 and the age of 11. That's very, very bad. So I think as Africa, we must understand that there's a collective need, a collective demand that we should rise up and attend to the boy child. That when we begin to see it like a collective effort, like is the responsibility of the society to attend to the children, the boy child, we will begin to, correct some of the impressions. When a child begin to misbehave, everybody begin to look at, oh, your mother didn't raise you well, your father didn't raise you well. Sometimes the mother will say, you took after your father, who was a liar, who was a murderer, who was a thief, who was this and that. And then the child begin to nurse this feeling that he's not good enough, he's already a criminal, and so what does he have to care? So they go on to begin to get deeper and deeper into those things, those words, those negative words that are spoken to them. I have a case where a particular child was being was misbehaving. He was always stealing, around the neighborhood. And every time he does that, the mother will always abuse him, abuse his father, because the father was known to do that. and then abandon them and walk away. So he always took out that bitterness on the child and feel that the child was just the replica of the husband who abused or abandoned her. So this made the child began to, feel like, okay, if I'm a known criminal, let me just go out of the house and begin to steal. And the boy left the house and began to steal, began to terrorize the environment, and this became a problem to the entire community. Now, people were watching the woman abusing the child, watching her speak all manner of negative words to the child, and they cared less because it wasn't their child. It's your child. If you want to kill him, kill him. If you want to do anything, do it. Is your child. So we need to understand that the responsibility to nurture the boy child is not just for the person who has given birth to the child, but a collective responsibility for every one of us. As long as a child is around you, you must be committed. You must take it as a responsibility to make impact, to contribute to the growth, the moral strength, the encouragement the child needs to become a better person. And that will help us to have the society we all dream of, where we have children being responsible, especially in this time that the moral standard is falling. People are doing you are on social media, you see all manner of clips of children who are doing sex video, doing all manner of sexual activities that is not even good to be spoken of, and all because we are failing in parenting. So I want to encourage every one of us, everyone hearing us, everyone that is tuning today, to understand that the responsibility to raise our children is not something that is left for government, like the last speaker said. It's not something that is left for government or for teachers, but something that we must be involved in, day out. Now, I have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. Every day of my life, I look at them and then I cast my mind back to what I went through in my childhood. And one of the things I always do is I don't want them to go through it, because it was a very horrible experience I had. So I'm always monitoring them. Sometimes I let go of some of the things I have to do so I can be around and make sure that I am in their activities. I speak to them, I tell them, open up to me, tell me whatever it is. You have someone trying to disturb you, someone trying to abuse you, someone trying to bully you in school, speak to me, because I know that I couldn't speak to anybody because there was no mother to speak to, there was no sibling to speak to, there was no father to speak to. So I have to bottle all the experiences I had during my growth. And like I said, my mom died at 6 when I was 6. And then from that moment upward, it was a hell of an experience that no child ought to go through it. So it is a responsibility. People were all around
Mr.
me.
Ahamba, please prepare to wrap up.
Okay,
Please
yeah.
prepare
So
to
people
wrap
were all
up.
around. Yeah, they cared less about what I was going through as a boy child. So I just want to say that we all must have to begin to put our mind down and look at children around us and know that we have responsibility. We owe them that responsibility to support them, to find out what they're going through, and to find a way to help them to get over those stresses. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ezekiel Ahamba from Nigeria. Quite a very powerful talk there on nurturing and doing better with our boy child. I think, like we agreed, we will have the questions. Already I'm seeing some questions on the chat box. We'll have them shared and answered at the end of the presentation to try and save up time. At this point in time, I'm going to invite up the next speaker so that we continue, and then my co-hosts will get my co-moderators will get to the questions when we get to the end of our presenters. I think with all the speakers that have spoken so far, talking about the intergenerational traumas that we are seeing at a family level, and all that we get to do, the fatherlessness that we see in our community, even present fathers that are actually not taking on the responsibility. It's taking us to the next concern that is in Africa, the incarceration rates. For some reason, the percentages of incarceration in Africa gets hiking almost every single now and then. Somebody once said, once gave up a quote to say, it's only in Africa where you find intergenerational incarceration. So basically, a state where you find the grandfather or the grandfather has been to prison, the son has been to prison, and the grandson as well is actually in prison. And you look at it and you wonder, are there solutions? What can be done? What is it that we can do? Because now that we see these are the same people that are living between home and prison. They get caught today, they get released after 2 years, after a week, they're back in prison. Is there anything that can be done? So the person that we are bringing up, she's somebody who is very passionate about the transformation of the incarceration. It's something that is very, very close to her heart. So she's coming to talk to us about the transformation of the incarcerated. Allow me to welcome Bekezela Maunze. Me Bekezela Maunze, you are welcome. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Hello to everyone. Thank you
Hi,
for this
Ma.
time to share about the transformation of the incarcerated.
Let me remind
I
you
think
before
we've
you
already
start.
introduced ourselves.
Let me remind you before you start, you have 10 minutes.
Okay, it's 3 or 4 now. Okay, yeah, I'll try. Maybe I'll be shorter, but I get carried away because of the passion. Yes, I got to know a prison myself personally when I was 9 years old in the then Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, when I used to visit my father, who was a political prisoner like Mandela. And now it's quite interesting that the United Nations Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, they call it the Nelson Mandela Rule 2015, which is being used by most prisons now all over the world. And at this point in time, I'm involved with prisons in Botswana since 2011. And I've realized that now all these prisoners, most of them, as we see them, they also have issues, which are, as we say now, it's a generational traumas. But as I was doing some research, I did realize that these generational traumas are also associated with the generational cases from the spiritual side. So, yes, and I had to do and check what is intergenerational trauma. And you find that the intergenerational trauma is a concept that has been developed now over the years, which is challenging within families. And this trauma brings in issues of incarceration, divorce, alcohol use disorder, domestic violence, child abuse, sexual and physical, emotional, and even other types of stresses. So the first 2 speakers have already mentioned and spoke about it. But then you'll find that we meet it now in the prisons. We meet these people who have been abandoned or not raised properly in the families, and they end up being in prison. Like even this morning as we speak, I was at the prison. We are running a spiritual faith-based course where we train them and we bring them into Christian faith, and then they give their lives to God. And we have found that this works because when we usually start, you find they are angry, they no smiles, they, all sorts of situations. But when we start and do what we call the Alpha course in the prisons, which is done in over 1,000 prisons all over the world, they found that this helps in terms of dealing with all these other traumas of the incarcerated, especially from a spiritual point of view. So as we run this, we tend to socialize with them, we teach them, and we have discussions. And that's where you get them bringing out issues of what has made them to come into prison. And from the first speaker, Bonolo, yes, the issue of parents or fathers, knowledge of fathers. We have had some of these inmates who are in prison because they've threatened to kill their mothers. They will tell you, I'm here, the minimum sentence I've been given 3 years or 5 years because I threatened to kill my mother. I've asked her several times who my father is. And we'll be looking at men who are 40 years or so. So this is really, really a challenge. And even when you talk in terms of saying your father in heaven, and it's like your father here, they'll say, I have no father to talk about. So we tend to make a talk about the healing process, and through the Christian faith that we deal with them, then you find that they start to heal, and you start seeing smiles and people transforming, and there will be a change of mindset. Even the young ones, we go into prisons where we have these young people. I'll give you an example of one where this young man had a tattoo written killer on his hand. And you ask yourself, where did you get this? He says, in the Botswana language, kolapeng, which means at home. So you try to find out how did they make, maybe it's these names that we give to our children, we label them and so on, and then they end up going into prison. So these are some of the things really that we are meeting when we meet these prisoners. Some are angry with society, it's to do with these love passions, and it's really a sad situation. But when we come in ourselves as transforming the incarcerated, we bring in the word of God, we cover various topics, which even end up making them forgive themselves and also ask for forgiveness from the people they offended or the victims that they are affected. And at the end of the day, they come out from prison as better people for the society. So you find that there's lots of anger. Some you meet them, they are depressed. Some, they don't even want to talk. But as we go through the trainings that we give, through what we call the Alpha course, which brings them into Christian faith, they now turn their lives around and they become better people. And from our trainings, we have had, because we have discovered that you can train the inmates to be mechanics, they can be plumbers, they can be welders, but if you leave out the word of God, you will not have fully rehabilitated them. And there's been a research that has been done, what the prisoners say about this course, which helps them in terms of rehabilitation, where we use the Christian faith. 97% of the prisoners say that Alpha or the evangelism course had a positive impact on their lives. 99% say they'll recommend it to their friends. 68% say they experienced personal transformation in their lives. And 91% they say they experienced the love of Jesus. And 78% say they had an encounter with the Holy Spirit. And most of them, they say feeling cared for, being welcomed and being non-judgmental and bringing that non-judgmental atmosphere in their lives, rated higher than any other feature when you are dealing with them in terms of trainings. And as we speak, we also look at some people who are learned. There's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We look at them also when we are doing these trainings. Any person, the bottom part of the Maslow, they need to survive. They need food, water, and warmth, and rest. The second part is security, where they need safety. They also need belonging, friendship, love, and intimacy. As you go up higher the ladder, the importance, they need self-respect and importance. Then the final top part on the ladder is the actualization, where they need to have their full potential. So we look at all their basic needs, then we look at spiritual, psychological needs, and when we meet those, they have their self-fulfillment needs. And also they start to do some education, and then the rehabilitation and transformation takes place when all these things are fulfilled. So these are some of the things that we meet in the prisons. And there's a lot, but because of time, as you have indicated, you'll ask your questions, we'll be able to answer. But yes, I've been into almost 17 prisons in the country, and they are really welcoming these trainings, because when we go into some of these, you'll find that there will be lots of fights, but when we do these trainings, the fights reduce, or they get eliminated totally. So you can actually see that these effects of the spiritual side and knowing God, it helps them to be better people in society, which is what they would not have looked for when they were out in the society. So out there in the society, let's do something to reduce these issues of offending and reduce the number of people who go into prisons, as well as accepting them when they come out, especially those who have been going through the trainings. They are now ready to go into the society, and they are able to even transform others. We have, like yesterday, we had a graduation ceremony for a leadership, a Christian leadership course, which was done at the prison. One of the ex-inmates, he did our course as well. He came to give his testimony. He is out in the community for 3 days a week. He goes to one of the clinics, talks about God, and then after that, he goes to do his work. He did carpentry, and now he's got some, he's self-employed to make furniture for himself and to sell to people. And he's having a reasonable life now out there. So these are the things which we are saying. Let's do the best for the incarcerated. Let's not just think that they are in there, they are useless, they are hopeless. We can do something so that they come out as better people. I could give lots and lots of examples of people who have come out. Even if you go into the YouTube throughout the world, there are lots of people who have been incarcerated. Some have been even made to be considered useless, but they've come up and they are doing good things in the society. Like today, I was at the prison giving a talk on how to resist evil. And there is an example of one man called Graham Seed. You can Google him. He was in prison, and at some point, his mother had called him even Satan. And then eventually, when he was about to die, and they had even switched off his, they had even decided to switch off the machine when he was in hospital to say he's going to die. Some prayerful friends through the Alpha course as well, that's what he says. They came and prayed for him, and he immediately woke up. And this testimony has been something which has given faith in my heart to say, you know, with God, everything is possible. So you can actually Google about Graham Seed. He's now done more than 112 alphas in UK, where he is now thanking God and giving back to the society because God made him alive and do what he's doing now. So really, there are many, many examples which I could give, even from here in Botswana, where they are coming out doing good things. Some come out and be preachers. Some come out and work as, in the business world. Some start their own business.
Thank you so much,
So let's not rule them out, because when they're in society, something went wrong, and that's what made them go into prison.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, you said it loud and clear. Let's not rule them out. You know, they say change is only a conversation away, and we appreciate the change that comes with this conversational as we sit with them. And I think this is also a realization to the young people out there to say, you know, for you to run these alpha courses, it's possible for you to also be involved with it and to run the alpha courses at your own space. Questions will follow at the end of all the presentations. We are continuing with our next speaker, Dr. Ntsiki. Dr. Ntsiki, she's coming in. We have talked about intergenerational traumas, from the family level to the boy child to the incarcerated. We've talked about all these, and the question in somebody's head right now is, then what? What's next? You know, what happens, what next. And Dr. Nsiki is coming in to talk about taking a new lead, opening up a new page and actually trying to do things differently. Dr. Nsiki, the floor is yours, ma.
Thank you so much, Patricia Ngwane, for this wonderful program. And thank you to all the facilitators and to the speakers who have already shared great, aspects of how.
Please be limited to 10 minutes.
Yeah, all right. I'm checking my time. And it's 18 minutes past now. So thank you so much. I'm just going to get straight to the point. New leap. We've had all what has been said. Things have happened in the past. Now these things stick in your mind. The new leap starts in your mindset. So what we need to do, as we are the people who pray, other people don't even believe in prayer. So when we pray in action. Pray and act. Jesus prayed for people and he acted as well. It was not a word only. Actions are very important to the new leap. So when we take this new leap, it's a movement. And now we choose, because we have gone through all what the other speakers have said. We've gone through all that history. So what now? Do we just sit here and cry and be at the scene of the accident all the time? The cars have crashed, the ambulances came, and the police came, statements were taken, ambulance took those who were injured to hospital and wherever needed care. Things have been cleared in the spot of the accident. Our mindset must not then stay there at the accident. It should move and be healed. And we need to make a choice. When I say it starts in the mindset, the new leap, everything starts with a thought. And the thoughts vibrate goodness or badness. There's nothing in the gray area. They vibrate what is good or what is bad. So we choose to vibrate goodness because we have to live. Past happened and we need to move on to live a good life. We were created in the image of God, be it we believe God or not, but we were created into this world to live with harmony, to live with love and joy. So, new leap, go back to the first call and our first thing, love. We were loved by God. He created us into his own because he loved us. For those who believe in the good book, he then, when the world fell into the sin, that we see all these things that have been said by other speakers, bad things, then he then saw that this is not what he created us to be. Then Jesus came to die for us, to be renewed, to be reconciled with the first Adam, to live happily again in the Garden of Eden. So our mindset should be positive to know that we are able and capable of living in this world amicable with love. Those who have spoken before, they are already doing great things. Prayer and action. Now, we should not sit at the scene of accident of knowing, oh, in the new year, there is going to be another 16 days of activism, of, gender-based violence. Already that mindset is telling us that within this year, there's not going to be a change. People are still going to go through that vicious cycle. Our mindset through the scripture that says, if my people pray and humble themselves before me, I shall heal their land. If they walk away from their sins, I will heal their land. New leap, let's walk, let's pray and walk into territories physically. Let's do the prayer walks. There are areas that are known to be very notorious. There are people in those areas who have now the revelation of the new leap, of walking others out of prison. So those who now have the new leap should be walking before and with the new revelation of the Holy Spirit power, speaking into the environment. There are areas that are known that in this area, girls don't even go to high school, they will get pregnant. Girl, teenage pregnancy, those things we can speak into the environment of the area. That's a demonic force that is taking territory in that area. So in the new leap, walk, pray, speak life into those children, bring them to also programs where they speak openly in a safe place, speak openly. Of course, I agree with other speakers that we come from generations that could not speak to their parents openly and share all these things that we're going through. But now, with the new generation, the new leap is that my daughter, if she sees that I'm not speaking about what she's interested in, she at least can come to me and ask questions. And we open up, we sit, we discuss openly where we can. So that's what we need in this generation. The new leap is a positive mindset. Move away from ticking the box when we do programs. We'll be like the darks, people who are like going to church and come back the same and not change. Let us not do rituals in the new leap. Let us be in purpose, because all these people who have gone through intergenerational traumas, their destinies were stolen by the enemy. We know that the enemy came to destroy, kill, and steal the destinies of people that even come out of prison and be great people in the society. So we are here to say to those already who are doing it, thank you for not waiting for the government. For others, don't wait for programs like this to happen. Take action wherever you are. Prayer goes with action. Faith comes with also works. Faith that have no works are dead. So we have to take this possibility that everything is possible. But above all, what the world needs is love. When we share the love with the world as this new leap, love is what conquers everything. I remember there's a lady who was even termed, in my language, in Xhosa, she was termed Msindo. Msindo means anger because she came with a problem of an intergenerational trauma of having menstrual pains that would make her go crazy. And in going that crazy, she would be mad, like really mad woman. And she would stay in the forest and for the period of menses. And she was attacked through her womb. And that thing, people, instead of praying for her and, maybe helping her to heal, they even nicknamed her anger, Msindo. And then the power of healing and the power of death and life is in the tongue. I'm saying in the new leap, we speak positively. Even if you see other people going through stuff, don't name them after their behavior. So these are the things that we should be changing from in the new leap. Our power of the tongue should speak like Christ would speak, or speak what love speaks, speak the mind of God, because people have gone through traumas and intergenerational curses. So those things we cannot sidestep and not speak about them. But when we speak about it, we don't confess it again over a family that, oh no, that family is known of that they are all rapists. We cancel the spirit that attack that family, that they are rapists, and they also terrorize territories. So in the new leap, it's a power of our speech, it's a power of our action, and the power of what we plan ahead. In planning in our goals is that let's not plan for programs. No, in the new year, this is what we're going to do because we think people will still be going through that same trauma. Let us speak life that people will be growing, healed. I offer cellular resonance technique, and that is speaking into natural healing of people from traumas of the past, from tensions, depression, thoughts that are negative, and you speak from cellular to soul, and we heal the soul because everything is in the emotions. So our new leap is that let's heal emotionally, and then the physical part, our cells will heal, and we can be the people that can reach their destinations, can be in their full purpose, and be of the essence of bringing others to the level of growing. I always say, as you rise, lift me up. So everybody should be taking action and not wait for others. Where we see these traumas and evil issues and situations happening, we are able to speak into those areas and to speak life in the air, in the atmosphere. In the mighty name of Jesus, we are able and capable. So let us be in the new leap. Let us see goodness, see the future before we walk into it. Let's speak and see our generations being healed. Let's see our children getting married and not being pregnant at the teenage stage. So this is possible. We can all do it. Even I will challenge us here. Before we leave, let us do a corporate prayer. Corporate prayers work. I mean, a prayer that we pray for the nations, and we pray for Africa, for South Africa, to heal, to have hope, and to be transformed, and to be restored, so we can be restored. That's a new leap and new hope for us. So let's walk into the freedom that God has given us. And transactions should be transformational. Let us not just talk in this platform. Let's talk and do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nzigi. Thank you so much for that presentation. A very passionate one indeed. Um, our next speaker was supposed to be Ms. Vera Matilda Hinson on Now Moving Forward, but unfortunately she's having some technical issues. That means she won't be able to join us. But we have on the line here Miss Nancy Oblatz. She's a behavioral change coach, and she's coming in on all the issues that we are clearing in and we are talking about. And I believe already listening to this, we are starting to see the patterns. We are starting to pick on the patterns in our families and to see the structures in our families, and we are understanding and picking on to say, I might be like this because of that, or I might be responding to this because of that and that and that happened. And now coming on to the change that we need, how do we now reach a level of change and reach a state of change that we need? So I'm going to quickly welcome Mayor Nancy Oblet to come and talk to us as a behavioral change coach. If you can kindly just quickly make her one of the co-hosts so that her mic is open. Okay, Miss Nancy, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Patricia. The fact of trauma and the effects of trauma is something that lives with us every day. It's not something we can hide. It's not something we can assume it doesn't affect us. I am privileged to speak with couples. I work primarily with married people, and I see how trauma, especially intergenerational trauma, plays out in their relationship and in their lives. And it's so amazing that we can actually transfer our hurts. Now, that's where I'm going to be talking from, transferring our hurts from one generation to the other. From all the speakers that have spoken, especially the first speaker, when she talked about her identity being incomplete because she didn't know her father, and the other woman too that spoke about prison also emphasized that when she said that there were a lot of people who were in prison, they were angry, and one of the core reasons was because their identity sort of was not complete because of the loss of their father. So we see a transfer of this trauma from one generation to the other. The parents had an issue they couldn't resolve. And because of that, probably the mother feels like, I'm the one that trained you, so why should you get to know your father? They hide the children from their fathers. In hiding the children from their fathers, like the first speaker said, she said that you feel like you feel like there's something missing, because in the integral part of all of us, we need to find a place of belonging, and our identities are hidden in our history. They are where we come from, the people that gave birth to us, and all. So you see that transfer. That's an example of how generational trauma is transferred. Another thing I've seen in my work with generational trauma is attachment styles challenge. Now, the attachment theory says that children have a primary need for attachment, and how they are able to connect with their mothers from their initial connection as infants will determine how secure they will go through their lives. So if a child, for some reason, was sent the message that they are inadequate, they are not good enough, or they had to be good to get love, like love was transactional. It wasn't unconditional. You had to be good. If you are good, you are treated fine. If you are not good, we throw you away because you are not the child we want. We want a good child. If those messages were passed either directly or subliminally, these children grow with a fundamental distrust for humans, fundamental distrust, especially in intimate relationships. Now, by the time the children leave the crate and grow up, get into relationships, there is like a change. Parents are replaced for their partners. And then the partners now, they begin to treat the partners the way their parents treated them. So we see a transfer of these generations or trauma from one generation to the other. In the Christendom, I know we call it a lot of times trauma. I am a Christian, and I've done some work trying to understand trauma from the spiritual angle. I've also worked trying to understand trauma from science, and you'll be amazed at the similarities. Now, science itself tells us that trauma can be passed down 3 generations. Scriptures tells us trauma can be passed down 4 generations. A curse can be passed down 4 generations. Science can prove, like literally prove, traumas at least 3 generations can be passed. So a father who was not loved, who was told to shut up, keep quiet, don't cry, men are not supposed to show emotions, grows up with the understanding that I am supposed to hide my emotions. My emotions cannot be expressed. This person has challenges in their future relationship with their partners to express himself, to be out there, to be completely loving. Because the thing with emotions is this: we cannot differentiate. A person cannot say, I'm going to hide negative emotions and then expose or bring forth positive emotions. It simply doesn't work. Once you bury positive emotions, you inevitably bury negative emotions. Same thing, if you bury negative emotions, you inevitably bury positive emotions. So they are in relationships and they are not emotionally connecting with their partners. Their partners are longing for love, but they are unable to give it.
Okay, Patricia, are you there? I think she's having a network.
Would cry.
Patricia, are you there?
Okay. I'm here. I was about to say I think she's having a network problem, but also her time was already up. Her time is
Okay.
already up.
Okay,
So
could you please
basically, I
come
think
closer? Could you please come closer to your mic? Your voice is a bit
yes.
low.
Okay.
I was saying
My voice.
Oh, she's
yes.
here. Your network was bad actually.
Okay, yes, it went on. So I was
Yes.
trying to give an
And can I
example.
kindly ask you to prepare to wrap up?
Yes,
It's almost
okay.
time. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So I was trying to give an example. I have when I had my first child, and my child sometimes will fall and cry. And then the immediate advice around is give her breast, give her breast. Now, giving her breast was inappropriate because her tears was not hunger. Her tears was pain from the fall. So instead of attending to the pain, we use food, we use other things to replace it. That child grows up unable to manage emotions, unable to understand their emotions, how to handle it. So they run to food, they begin to binge. Some people will run to drugs. Some other people will run to sex. They will run to other things because we have always taught them to conceal it. We have not taught them to deal with these issues from their roots. So from childhood, we begin to train ourselves, our children, to carry on the pain that we have come with. So for me, one of the major things is even coming to the awareness that there are simple little things that we do that take this trauma into the next generation, so that as we begin to change those little things, we begin to give our children, our future, a better lease for life. Of course, we are also working on ourselves so that we can have better opportunities, we can grow, we can self-actualize, we can find fulfillment even as a person.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for that amazing presentation. Stepping in at a short notice and doing quite an amazing job to show how much passionate you are about this. Issues of intergenerational traumas, one way or the other, they have redefined everything that tells us who we are as a people, whether it's issues of identity, connections with one another, connections with our land, our relationships with our money, our relationships with our fellow brethren, with our fellow sisters, relationship. We talk about women can support women, can stand one another. We talk about, men can do this with one another. Africans can actually work together and support each other's businesses. We talk about all these things, and all these things carry on. They go on back to who we used to be. It goes on back to the battles of intergenerational traumas. And I think we learned a lot from what is said. So at this point in time, I'm going to hand over to my fellow moderators to take us on to the question and answer segment. Ms. Ria and Pepper, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. It was really a very insightful information. And I'm so keen on this topic. As I said, as a sociologist, I've been working on certain topics related to trauma, related to a boy child, related to abuse and child labor. And currently, I'm working on something relating to child labor, especially those child domestic workers that we call mates, right? The kind of things they pass through. I actually worked on that project during my master's, but in this PhD, I tried to advance it to relating because sometimes we only talk about those children, what they pass through, but we don't talk about what the caregivers also pass through, because we cannot entirely say that these people are actually the only victims, right? Those caregivers are also the victims. So that was my area, and I'm really keen on this topic. And I was so excited to hear on Mr. I don't know if I can the name on Igbo, the other speaker who is a man. He talked about yeah, exactly. He talked about he was talking about his experience. Most times we talk about this child abuse on the female aspect. So I'm also glad that he's here to talk about that. So I really want to ask him a particular question. I think like most of this throughout my research, I think that most of this happen because of some cultural factors. Just as we said, most of our speakers said that um, you don't tell the man the boy child how to show emotion. You have to bottle up your emotion. And also, most of the sexual abuse are meant for ladies. You as a boy don't tell people that you sexually abused, they laugh at you, right? So they bottle up all those things. So I really want to ask him, what do you think should be the right approach to creating awareness, at least to reduce this cultural effect on especially the male child? I don't know if he's here to answer my questions, but if he's not here, maybe any other speaker can answer my questions. Patricia, that's if you permit.
Yes, ma'am, there is no problem at all.
Yeah, I think he's not here.
Mr.
Oh, he's here.
Ezekiel,
He's here. He's muted. He's muted. Mr. Ezekiel Ahamba, I think you are muted.
can you maybe say the question again? I didn't get the question.
Okay, I was asking him like the right solution, the right approach. I say that I actually think that the main issue is always a cultural factor, whereby we grow up, like this gender socialization. We grow up, people telling us how we have to handle things according to our gender, right? A girl and a boy. And especially for the boys, we make them grow being so strong, bottling up their emotions as a boy. So I want to ask him, what does he think should be the right solution, the right approach in creating awareness, at least for the boys, especially regarding to all the cultural effect on them.
Okay, I think before he steps in, I'll just try to give an answer on the basis of what we coach in, more especially when we talk on nurturing and grooming a boy child. One thing that we have to note is it starts from home. Basically, as they are growing up, the boy and the girl, that's where as parents we get to define who a girl is and who a boy is and what a girl is expected to do and the expectations surrounding a boy child. And most of the time it goes back to our communication, how we communicate with them, and in those communication, what exactly are we intending to get at the end of the day from the conversations. Yes, I do understand once in a while you would want your boy child to act manly and to show the odds and the signs of being a man, but there comes a time where you have to set aside those expectations that have been put by the society, but also putting into consideration the fact that we were raised by a generation of parents that were caught up into the same thing we are talking about, the intergenerational traumas, who knew no other how but to raise us the way they were raised themselves. On the same basis of those expectations of saying you are a man, men don't cry, men don't do this, you are a man, you can't be beaten by a girl. But now this generation, as the generation that is choosing to do things differently, we need to be conscious, because the more you need in consciousness, that's where you realize that what you train them to be today, the words you speak today, they build up a man tomorrow. When you start saying you can't be beaten by a girl, how can you let your young sister beat you? You can't be beaten by a girl, you're a man. You are teaching them to be a man tomorrow that will stand on issues of gender-based violences because they believe they can't be beaten by a girl or they can't be hurt by a girl. When you say, you know what, boys don't cry, don't be crying like that, already you're saying you don't need to be talking about your issue. You are silencing them. But the silencing goes a long way into them being grown up. So let's start it from the home setup. Let's correct the way we talk to them and address and talk to them in consciousness, knowing fully well that we are building a man that will tomorrow have to sit on boardrooms with girls, that will tomorrow be married to a woman, that will tomorrow have to live in the society, in the streets that have people. Because at the end of the day, when you teach them, you are teaching them to understand also that there is a society out there that carries its own norms, its own teachings, and that has its own way of doing things. And he's going to go into this society that will think he doesn't know any other way better. But in your teachings, that's what they will always go back to. And the other thing is we see a lot of programs that are centered around nurturing a girl child, grooming a girl child, empowering a girl child. Can we reach a level where we do the same for the boy child, where we get to sit with them, we get to train them, we get to appreciate the fact that it's not all of them that are talked to like we talk to our own. And we sit them with them, we do this empowerment with them. Because one of the problems that I've been seeing in our communities is we are investing a lot in empowering our women and leaving behind our men, but with expectations that the same woman who is over empowered goes back to home to live and cope with a man that is not empowered. So basically now, because our men, for some reason, they have been empowered by the voices of the community, that they are the leaders, that they head, whatever that seems to rub off wrongly on their ego means they have to defend themselves. So in defending themselves, it takes us back to the issues of gender-based violences. So let's see a rise of men and women that are coming into the space of boy-child empowerment. We need that right now. That's one of the things that we are looking for so highly in Africa. Men and women that are coming into the spaces of boy-child empowerment.
Thank you so much, Patricia. That was really very clear. It actually still boils down to family education. And I think family education creates the first awareness. Just like I also noticed that in his approach, when he said he always talked with his children, it's more like creating an awareness for them. So thank you so much. The next question, I don't know if Ria is available.
Miss
Yeah.
Pepe, please, can I just add something to that conversation? I wanted to say that the universe generally abhors lopsided balance. So for a long time, we've had a lopsided relationship where everything was about the men. The men were the ones that were sent to school, the men were the ones that do that and all. And right now, I think we are also having another extreme. We are also going to another extreme where we are paying all the attention on the girl and leaving the boy child without any attention. If we continue with this trend, we will find that we have more women becoming responsible, taking up more responsible duties in society, and then we would have our men fall. They would begin to be little bits. They are beginning to be laid back. They are not pushing. I remember a statistics that was talking about Dubai. They said 75 or 65% of their students were females. So you ask the question, where are the males? We need
not again, her network.
Yeah, I can hear it. Okay. Well, I would like to put a question, and that I hear what she's saying here. What is already on the ground? What is already what solutions are
a
there already?
balanced structure to come up with a structure that balances,
already?
even if to take the duties they are supposed to take up. They are not able to raise their children well because they are being neglected. If we balance this, it will do us a lot of good.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
Moderators, do you mind if I may just come in?
Okay, sure.
All right, thank you. You know, the norm of diversity and inclusion, we've been carried away with that in a very exciting way, to an extent that even men, and you see others have even started their NGOs saying they are looking after women and young women, because that is what now most of the governments, all the world is just focused, even the UN focusing to that. And that is creating a very big reach between men and women in the workplace, in the marketplace, and also in, as they are growing up. So now as we are correcting, we are creating another position of anger in another gender. So diversity and inclusion doesn't mean that others must be left out. It means that others must be brought into the balance of holding hands together, and we walk in unity together and work together. It doesn't shift men out of position, and it doesn't shift young men out of not being trained as well and also given opportunities. Otherwise, they come back and attack because of anger. Others don't even speak it, that they are killing these young ladies because they see that they are being taken care of more than them. But now it comes as a spirit of jealousy. And that jealousy now is taking over as another intergenerational trauma and bringing everybody into it. All families are affected, and government and people, when the younger men are killing their loved ones. So we have to take care as we balance and as we lift the others who were left behind and disadvantaged in a very planningful way and in a way that is going to benefit everybody. Thank you.
Very nice one. So, Ria, you wanted to ask a question?
Yes, my question was, okay, what is been done for against this? What is already on the ground to stop this, especially in Africa? Because okay, I hear there's lots of NGOs who have come in to help women and young girls, but what is been done now that is again another imbalance? What has been done for the man?
You know, there was this rise up that came, I think, that was around 2019, where all of a sudden the Southern African, I'll say Southern African because we saw this coming up around Botswana, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, where the men, for some reason, they started this imaginary conference. They called it the men's conference. It was just an imaginary conference, and one way or the other they'll go on Facebook and they'll talk about things, that imaginary things that they thought were addressed at the men conference and stuff. And we sat down with my team after following this trend for a while. We sat down, and I think on our meeting, one thing that was agreed upon on was, these are people communicating, and these are people communicating what they would love to see and what they would love to hear. And this is people communicating what they wish could have been there, but it's not there. And as far as it is, I started connecting with different men. I know your Mr. Ezekiel Ahamba from Nigeria, different men across Africa that are actually running programs that are intended to empower the boy child and the men in their societies. I know there is Prince Banda in Zimbabwe. He's running a coaching program that is full on for the men empowerment. There's TJ Malamil in South Africa. He's running a program. There is Monna Tota in
Is it my network or her
She
network?
froze. She's frozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. May I also just respond on what has been happening as well? In South Africa, there are so many, like our NGOs, we are looking after the boy child, and even schools have taken the responsibility now of doing workshops and conferences and bringing in speakers who are talking about how to raise a boy child. There are many conferences as well in the communities that are men's conference. Now we see there's also a men's day, like there's a women's day internationally. There's a men's day as well. Because remember, these men, they're the ones who are taking care of you. As much as they do support women's programs, but we also do not need to really be like we are completely taking over them. We need them We work together. There must be unity. There must be respect above all other things that we do. And we learn also from those who have learned and have been operating before us. So there is a lot, if you want to see it, you can see there is a change and there are positive organizations not looking for government to help them. What we should be doing is move on that positive note and do what we have to do in our little corners, and it's going to, every candle is going to light up to the other, and we shall see this big light in not just in Africa, globally. I'm involved in different global communities. We are taking care of the boy child, not just boy child, men as well. Thank you so much. So there is a lot that is happening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ria, do you have any further questions? If not, I would ask from our audience. If you're so audible, you can just unmute yourself and ask your question. This is question and answer section. So unmute yourself, ask your question.
There were questions that were there
Hello, I
on the
was
chat
just
box.
also going to talk about issues in schools, because this has to start from a young age. Because when they are older, that's when all these things will come out and manifest. So we start from school. And even our first speaker spoke about emotions. We have to look at all these emotional intelligence starting from school. It may not be called emotional intelligence, but in their guidance and whatever, we need to talk about these things, how they hungry each other, or even their emotions, because they take these things when they go to university and they take it to their workplaces, but we mold them when they were still young. Because I've seen even here students stepping each other. Where is it coming from? You see, so we have to start dealing with their emotions, character molding at a young stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Patricia, you wanted to say something, or should I go on?
Yeah, Ms. Ria, I was actually saying there were questions that were put up on the chat box, but yeah. I also had a question for Mepeke Stella, the lady that was talking on the transformation for the incarcerated.
What is the question, Patricia?
The question that I wanted to ask you is, we have this population of our brothers and sisters that are caught up in prison, that are incarcerated. And I believe where we are also, we have young women and men in our communities who actually carry certain skills and soft skills, or be it the technical skills that are actually waiting on to get a job or to gain experiences in what they are doing. And I was wondering actually to say, you know, with time given in prison, how valuable, I know it's valuable actually, how will it transform them if we were to find a way of actually engaging these young people that recently just graduated? Because right now in Africa, one of the cries is unemployment. There is huge rates of unemployment. We see our young brothers and sisters graduating only to stay at home. Can we get to a point where we use them to actually train up the soft skills and the technical skills that they carry into these people that we are finding, these brothers and sisters of us that we are finding in prison? So much that, because I believe one of the reasons why some people are living in and out of prison, in between prison, it's because you get in prison and you are sentenced to 5 years in prison. And when you are sentenced to 5 years in prison when you are 18, by the time you get out, already your peers have already finished their years in college and some are already working. You come, you don't possess any skill, you don't possess any knowledge. Of course, yes, you are willing to try, you've been transformed, you're willing to try. But when you get to the community, you realize you can't sustain yourself. You don't have anything to sustain yourself with. And that's how they end up stealing again, and they end up back in prison. And that basically the circle goes on, and the circle goes on. And the sad thing is, in the period when they are home, some of them end up leaving children who grow up now being tormented of the fact that you are just like your father who is in prison. You're just like your father who is in prison. And before you know it, they grow with this mentality that I've always been referred to or compared to a man that is in prison. And it leads again to this intergenerational incarceration that we were talking about in Africa. So maybe if we can bring in the idea of skills that can actually pay somebody when they are out of prison. I think maybe if you can try to smooth up on that one.
As we do these trainings in prison, most of them really, they do transform in a positive way. So that's where we encourage the community to get to know, and even we are encouraging churches to take over with some of these inmates as they come out. I'll just indicate to you that we need people who have a changed mindset. We have engaged more than one in our company, and one of them, he had some welding skills. We engaged him for almost more than 6 years. He worked for us, but he had been in prison for almost 4 years before. So it's up to us as the community to say, are we accepting these people? Have they changed? We have even engaged some who we had to even teach these soft skills. Like one, he didn't even know how to use computers and so on. We trained them here. So if there could be more of people who get to understand the issues of these ex-inmates and their transformation, and then they engage them. Because at the moment, there are some who actually get, they get blacklisted. So that when they come out, if they are checking for employment, they find they are blacklisted. So they are not given until such time that they get a presidential pardon. We have met some of them, we have assisted some to write such letters, but it takes individuals to say, I'm making a commitment, believing in the transformation of this person, then I give them a job. So that's what we are asking the community to say. Let's get involved. Let's see their transformation, because some of them, they are in there because of all these intergenerational traumas that are beyond their control. And when we are doing our trainings, we meet these situations, and most of them, they need that love. They will tell you, I've really managed to. The important part for me is love. And when you show that love, then they start to change and transform. And as they come out, they are different people who can be good citizens of the nation. So most countries are now using this Mandela rule for 2015, and it has all these issues of training, like the Rule 4, which talks about spiritual aspects of training, vocational training, and everything. And so they are following all these. So these things, these people, we have good talent in the prisons. Some are musicians, some are writers, some are poets. So these are things which we should appreciate, and then we take it from there and encourage them. And as a society, we'll have a better society where if they are given jobs, they will not go back to the wrong things that they were doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mama. In the absence of any other question, I think I'll just quickly want to understand this. Like I said earlier on, I do mentor young women from all across Africa. And one of the things that I got to realize is there is this law that has been there in different countries across Africa, which is quite a good one, but I need to understand something out of it. The child neglect, where a mother that is not so present or that is always neglecting their child gets arrested for child neglect, and they go and serve time in prison. And what I want to understand is, as you do transformation for this mother that leaves the prison already transformed and be willing to be present and to be there for their children, have you ever thought of incorporating the same transformational tool for the children? Because having worked with children on the academic excellency platform, I get to realize that some of the children are actually bleeding wounds of child neglect. And even when the parents are incarcerated, to them, it doesn't sound like it doesn't come out as my mother has been incarcerated, is in prison, but it comes as one of those days when she's never there for us. And even when she comes, already you are tiptoeing around the love that she's giving, because you know there will be time when she will not be there, because we are used to her like that. And these are the same wounds that go on to be transformed into the other generation, because this child now knows no other way but to raise children that way. And basically that means it becomes a norm with her as well, with hers, that she knows no other way but not to be present for her children. But when it comes to the boy child now, with the fatherlessness and the mother that is actually neglective, it becomes a different issue altogether, because now it comes on to haunt the whole society and the community. So my question was, have you ever thought of now incorporating the same transformational tools into them that are at home, the children that have been neglected or that have been left at home?
At the moment, really, I cannot, because there are various governmental or NGOs who can be doing some of these things, and here they could be also looking at social workers and so on. But as an organization, we do have what we call parenting of children courses and parenting of teenagers courses, where we can involve the parent and the child in terms of how they can grow up and how to raise them, where we talk about values and talking about love, because we put love as the centerpiece of everything in the family. Then we look at values that you bring into your child. So we have such programs, but we have not run them yet in the prisons. And in the prisons, at the moment, I see a lot of improvement, particularly here. They are really coming up with a lot of activities in terms of training. There is a time when we had one of the inmates who had really anger issues, and he was taken for anger management, so they do those things. And like as you're talking about the mothers who may be negligent, probably if that person could be, as she is serving her sentence, she could also go through some trainings where they need to show to love, how to love your children and so on. And then they could follow it up as they come out to see how they are practicing what they have learned. Because most of the people, they make assumptions about a lot of things, even in terms of marriage. We need to do trainings. In our companies, we do strategies, we have goals about whatever, but we don't do those things in our families and our children. So we have to take that into consideration, because it's very, very important. Family is important, because that's where all these people come out from to make a nation. And if it's people are broken from the families, we end up having broken nations. So we really need to do something about the family unit.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much, Mama Beke. Over to you, Ria.
Yes, I would like to know, is there a special school for these kind of children? Because, I mean, to let them go in a normal school where, other kids come from normal families, it's a bit harsh. So is there a school where they can be with like-minded and really can be taken care of in whatever is happening to them, that they can talk about it and bring the change? Same like, I think I recently spoke to you about it, that all those incarcerated men, that because they're all in one place, it's easier to reach them and reprogram, let me call it reprogram them. And same you can do with these children if they're in one place. But if you just, let them go back to a normal school, or the schools that would stay in the schools where they were before the mother got in jail, um, is it really helping? Or are there already special schools for these children?
Unfortunately, there are no special schools. But I'll hand over to Mama Beke to answer on it. Unfortunately, there are no special schools.
If that is done, they may feel stigmatized as well. I'll just give myself as an example. I went to a normal school. My own father was incarcerated as a political prisoner like Mandela for more than 10 years. And I was 9 years old. I went to a normal school, even my siblings. And most of us got the right education. Some are lawyers, some are engineers, and so on. So if you take them to different schools, you stigmatize them. If you notice that the child is having a problem, then you'd rather, when they are freer, you take them for counseling or some sort of, so that they start to see and address their challenges. Otherwise, if you take them to a different school, they will now say, we are in a separate school, we have this challenge, and so on and so on. So that would be my suggestion. They can be taken for counseling, like as I'm saying, this person was taken for anger management. You take them, so that's what should be done, than to stigmatize and say there's a special school for these children who have problems. We are also putting another trauma now.
Yeah. I agree with what you said.
Sorry, can I say something very quickly? You were just saying that it was a political prison, and your parents being put in jail because of a crime, not a political crime, but normal crime, like maybe has murdered somebody or has stolen, whatever. That's a complete different. So
mine, it was, as I'm saying, you know that it was a country called Rhodesia. So he was talking about the freedom of the country, and then like what Mandela did, and then they detained him for more than 10 years or so. Okay. So we grew up without him, but we used to visit him. That's when I saw how a prison looks like,
Okay. Still, I think, anyway, I still...
Yeah. I think I do get your question, and I do get where you are coming from. To say, you know what, for some of these kids, you realize that with the abuses and with the child neglect and everything, it's quite a very sensitive case for them to actually step into a normal school, and more so that it will be in communities where other kids as well know exactly what's happening with their parents. But unfortunately, we haven't reached a level where we have schools that are specifically for those. As much as sad as it is, even the children in some countries, I know in some countries in Africa, when you get incarcerated, when you are pregnant and you have like a 7-year sentence, if none in your family steps up to come and take the child grows with you there in prison. So you realize that we still have these issues that are still we are still looking. And I think this is a call to some of us that are aware, that are more of awareness to say, okay, fine, there's a space, there's a need. If we can come up with maybe ideas of boarding schools where these children could actually be given the special care that they need, and the mentorship and the counseling that they need and stuff, to actually be better citizens in the community and everything. It's a need that is there. It's one of the things that are of high need right now in almost every country in Africa. In almost every country that I've been to in Africa, there is still that need here. So basically, it's one of those. But at the moment, we are dealing with what we are working with what we have. We try by all means to reach down to them and to give them the counseling they need.
My dear, what I hear here is an opportunity. Basically, what you're saying is, hey, we really need these kind of schools. Whoever has an NGO, please, there is an opportunity in this gap, to start a school, especially for children who are coming from, I won't even say problem families, but let's call it more difficult backgrounds.
Yeah, it's a very saddening situation. Imagine a child being born in prison, 2 years old or 3 years old. They are calling every woman in prison mama, because one way or the other, every woman here is like mama, and it's like they're incarcerated as well, and for something that they don't know of anything of. So if like you're saying, if there's anybody out there who has NGOs that can do something, we are looking for, there is a need for that. If somebody starts up a home care or home-based care for these young ones, to say, okay, fine, I'll be taking them, nurturing them and keeping them up until the mom is at a state where they could keep them and do better with them. It's something that I believe is of a need in our community.
Can I say something, Ms. Patricia, regarding this? Regarding this particular issue, right? I wouldn't say I agree with you and yeah, on the aspect of school, getting a special school for them. No, they can't be identified as special children. That is the truth. Because creating a school for them, as the other speaker said, is going to increase stigmatization, right? It's actually another trauma on them. They are not disabled. People that are meant for special schools are the disabled, like maybe the visually impaired students, those disabled students, because they might not be able to meet up with the normal students. So let's just say people are passing through some certain trauma, family issues, being born in the prison. What we have in our society are what we call the social workers, right? The NGO. The duty of the social workers is to work with these children. It's work with these children born in the prison, work with children that face substance abuse in their family, all those kind of violence in their family. Social workers are there to work them and put them in the right mindset to help them grow, right? You see all this stigmatization that we complain of that are going to face in the society. Definitely, a lot of people face that. Even if your father is not in prison, people just stigmatize you. Even when, if your mother has one leg, they do that to you. This is what we call bullying. Yeah, this is what we call bullying in school, right? But when we have social workers, right? Social workers talk you into believing that no matter what people feel, you shouldn't feel bad, right? They have to help you psychologically. So we can create a special school for them. That is also giving them the awareness that they are not normal, right? So this is very sensitive.
Why I was saying special schools, because at a young age, it's so important for children. If you've done child psychology, the age between 1, 7, 8 is the time that a child should be in the most, it depends what their environment is and how the next stage of their life will be. So why I say special school, because if you put them in such a school where they can, even for those years, you can take them away completely from the mother and still give them a new outlook on life. You can teach them so much between 1 and 7, 8. A child is like a sponge. So if you put them in these special schools, what you are actually creating is a new generation of strong kids. Of course, they're going back in the reality, but it will be in a nice environment where you can make the strongest. You can take all the traumas from how many generations away. It is there. But if you put them back in a normal system, how are you going to heal this? I mean, even a doctor, when he wants to heal a wound, he has to, look separate at the wound. He doesn't look at the whole body.
Yeah.
So I think
Can
if
I
you
say
really want
something?
to,
Can I say something?
Have you ever thought, let's say there's a
Something.
school, do you know that even the vulnerable children would also want to have a superiority over the other ones by telling you the level of her mother's crime, is actually lighter than your mother's, right? They can also be bullied by each other, right? So maybe that's
you know what?
Because of that.
Can I say something on this?
Yeah, please.
Bullied by
Yeah,
each other, it depends on the teacher. With a good teacher, it can be solved.
Can I say something, Ria? Ria, can I say something?
Yes, please. I'm listening. I'm always
our
open.
time. We are already past our time. Can somebody
Hello,
say
may I just say something about child bullying? We have
we
been
are
invited
already
to some schools.
we are already
where
past our
a
time.
Form
Can
2
I just
small
have
girl-
3 people speak and then we close?
Yeah, please
Okay,
allow her to finish
I
up.
want to like add to what Ria was saying. You see, I think that Ria is looking at this from only one side. If you remove these children from circulation and put them apart, you also have the challenge of reintegrating them into society because they would have to live among people. What I think would be good for these children is they have regular sessions. Maybe they have homes where they live with caregivers since they are small and their parents are in prison. But they go to regular school because they learn social skills, learn how to get triggered and not react in the same negative ways. While in school, they can have social workers or maybe the guidance and counseling team watching them, noting some of the things they can raise to their homes as concerns, and then the homes pick it there and work on it. But if you separate them completely, you are giving them an identity already. Whether we say it or not, it is an identity. You are not qualified or you are not good enough to go into special schools. Look at it, even abroad where they have special schools for disabled children, some parents still opt not to take their children there. Why? Because of the identity it is creating in the child. So like when my children school, they have a special needs kid that is in the school. He has a teacher that comes with him. The parents pay that teacher separately. The teacher comes with him to school, but they allow him to sit in the class with other people because they need that integration with other parts of society. They cannot be hidden and put aside as if they are a plague. Once we do that, we are giving them an identity. And I can tell you that even though we try to do all the things we will do, the day they come back into society and have issues integrating into society, the likelihood is that they will take on the identity they had because of their seclusion. Because secluding them is saying you are problematic. I also think that it's almost like punishing them for a sin they have not yet committed. I mean, it's their parents that sinned, it's their parents that did wrong. They need love, they need an environment where they can grow. That's why a home will be good, but they also need to interact with everybody on a general place. And I think for children, school is that place.
Why I was saying it because
I also agree with that myself.
You have boarding schools, right, in many Western countries, and I see it as well. Don't forget, we're talking here about kids that are between 1 to 7. That is the youngest age. They always have the time still to integrate, but that age, it can make a child grow up completely differently if you put him in a good environment where he can grow, where he doesn't know about all these crimes. Protect him first, because if he was born in a normal family, he would have had that. That is basically what you're giving him, instead of from such a young age already make him become bullied. I mean, to overcome this, even with a psychiatrist or whatever next to you. It's a hard, very, very hard place. Why do I know so much about this? Back in my own the island where I come from, I know we used to have that for children. These kids, they were so self-confident. They were almost like a big family, very self-confident. They know where they were coming from. But when they had to play against us, basketball or in swimming, they were beating us. You know why? They were made strong in this special school, what I call special school. You can call it whatever you want. But they got a chance to be away from that harsh environment. They always will integrate. You can't stop that. After 7, 8, when their legs are strong enough, they can, but not at this young age. That is what I've seen. It works, and that's why I'm saying it. I'm not talking about teenagers here. It's too late. But I'm talking about a very young. We have a saying even in my country: bend the tree when it's young. When it's old, you can only break it.
Okay, thank you so much. This was really a very wonderful webinar and wonderful conversation that went on. So we just have 2 minutes
I
to
see
end.
a hand with Dr. Ngongo.
We just have 2 minutes to end the program. So I would want to thank everybody that came into the program today. God bless you. And I believe you actually um, enjoyed it and learned one or two things as well. Me personally, I enjoyed listening to all the speakers, even the moderators that I had to add a lot of things. Miss Patricia was like a moderator and a speaker at the same time. It was so wonderful listening to her. And in the audience, I can see people that have always supported us. I can see them. They used to be our speakers also, and it feels so good to also see them. So I'm going to hand over to Mr. Michael to welcome everybody, family, and thank everybody for joining with us. Miss Emilia, I can see you. Since you came in late. Mr. Michael, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mrs. Pepe. Sorry. Yeah, thank you so much, Mrs. Pepe. We really appreciate your moderation, and I want to thank our sister Patricia Nkwane for this wonderful topic. In fact, in all my life, I've always prayed to be a channel of blessings for others, and so I'm very happy and feeling fulfilled right now that this platform is achieving this purpose by bringing on board every Saturday fantastic speakers to address all these sensitive issues, and we also want to personally thank these people, our wonderful speakers tonight, Mrs. Bonolo Folage, then Dr. Who spoke on a new leap. Then want to appreciate Dr. Nsiki Nkoko. Then want to appreciate Mama Becky, Mama Becky, Becky Zela Maunze. She really contributed a lot of insightful contribution. She made an insightful contribution tonight, and she summarized the effect of this trauma by suggesting love, and among other points. They want to appreciate Ezekiel Ihamba, who spoke on doing better with our boy child. We appreciate you, and we also want to thank the following people for making it down tonight for this interesting program. I want to thank Mrs. Emilia Bywaters. Despite the fact that she has another program tonight, she was still able to make it down for this program. Thank you so much. Yeah, I want to thank Mrs. Nancy Oblete for your insightful comments and presentations. We want to thank you. Then I want to thank Miss Ria Radwick, the woman who always do it for Africa. Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Abiodun. Yeah, Mr. Abiodun is from Iris. interactive products from Nigeria. We appreciate you for your patience since morning that we started till now. Then want to thank our lady from Doha, Then want to thank Dr. Nsiki Koko. We appreciate your insightful contributions. Then want to thank our brother from Italy, Mr. Busayo. Brother Busayo Omidiora Mr. Busayo is the author of Life-Changing Steps to Achieve Your Dream. We'll be hearing more about the book next weekend, as it tells us the inspiration behind the book. So we also want to appreciate Ezike Ayhamba. Then want to appreciate Jane from Nigeria. We want to thank Nomusa Abera. Then we want to thank Insin. Then there's another person that I'm seeing now, P. Then we want to thank Tabi Nkwanazi. So we appreciate all of you for making our time to be with us tonight. Then once again, I also want to, before I round up, I want to appreciate Mrs. Patricia Nkwani. In fact, the program of tonight will go a long way in impacting many people that are suffering from this trauma, because this platform, the contribution of our speakers tonight is online. It's on YouTube, and I believe many people will view it, and they will see from the wonderful comments, wonderful presentations, how to overcome all these traumas. Thank you so much. I want to personally thank you for your evergreen contribution to all our meetings. Thank you so much. Maybe you want to add one or two things to what I just said, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think working with you and working with Bridge Africa has been quite a very amazing opportunity for me, amazing honor for me. And in all the programs that we are doing to empower, to uplift, and to heal women, youth, and young girls across Africa, I think this for me is a call for partnerships. We are looking for more people that are willing to actually partner with us going for further, to actually ensure that the message we are trying to reach actually reaches the right people. Because for me, it's not enough if I leave Botswana and I go do a transformational coaching session in Lagos, and I'm thinking, as big as Nigeria can be, there are people out there that actually need this information more than the group that is here. Not that the group that is here is not worthy, but we are looking for partnerships that are willing to take us even further than that. And also, I'm currently running a women empowerment radio program with Soul Online Radio. It's a community-based radio station in the UK, and I think it has granted me an opportunity to connect with women in every continent in the world and interview women in every continent in the world. I'm also looking for partnerships in regarding to that, people that are willing to help me and to assist in this journey of transforming our community and doing better with our generation. Thank you so much. Thank you once again, Mr. Michael, for this opportunity.
Yeah, you are really welcome. You are welcome. We really appreciate your evergreen contributions. And I want to hand over to Madam Emilia Bywaters, Daily Nugget. So how was the 300-day working day award went? Where is my award? I'm waiting for it. Because I've been participating with you.
The awards was very good, very good. And
Very good.
yeah, we handed out 20 trophies, yeah.
Wow.
But the next one begins in February, and all of you are welcome to join.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, over to you, Madam Pepe.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we've come to the end of the program today, and that's a good night from us and also from the Bridge Africa magazine. Good night, everybody, and thanks for joining. Hope we see you next week.
Yeah. See you next week.
Good night.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Night.
Yes. Mr. Omijora, are you in the house?
Yes, I'm in the house.
Say something now before we round up. We want to hear you.
Actually, the program today was awesome, very insightful, and very informative. I think you guys are doing so much in this area of correcting the ills that have been done against children in our society. Actually, personally, I didn't experience child abuse. Of course, my father used to beat us like hell. But I think that we saw that from the perspective of training. He was a teacher, very disciplined, and we really grew with that. But I have seen people who have actually mentioned, real cases of child abuse where maybe the parents, I remember my mother used to tell us, look, I could have left your father because the beating was too much. But I'm staying behind because of you, guys, I want you to have good education because I know that if I leave you with these other wives, it may jeopardize your chances of getting well in life. So I didn't really, experience it. But when I see people talking about child abuse, what they went through, I have this empathy in my mind that something needs to be done. And that is why the insightful program today has been very helpful to ensure that there's a way forward for those who have challenges, trauma, and those who have limitation in the society. And I believe that by the grace of God, this particular program, as we move on, we go a long way to really bring solution to these challenges. Thank you very much.
And Dr. Nono had said we could have a corporate prayer. Maybe she can pray with us as we close. That's a suggestion.
Let's allow the program directors, if they agree to that. I know we are of different faiths and beliefs, but all I know is that every soul wants a positive life, wants to be loved and spread the life. So that's a kind of corporate prayer I was speaking about, that let there be great manifestation from our souls that bring out light to the world and to those who are around us. It is out of any religion, but because we are human beings that are breathing goodness into the world, to ourselves first, and that we can give what we have. So we should receive this higher light, higher life, higher greatness, and higher energy that is aligned with the perfectness of how we were created to be on this world, to shine out, to spread goodness, to share the love that can spread and bring any situation that is negative into positivity. And we also speak kindness into our minds and the mindset of those who are around us, remembering those who did not even choose to be in situations where they are right now. They are in prisons, but we speak life, manifest goodness, that the good spirit of the Creator, divine God, will touch and reach them wherever they are. Even those who have put this program together, may they have more light on what we should be doing in the next one. Also, all of us who are doing all what we are doing to be good to the world, for the good of ourselves, our families, societies, our countries, our continent, and the global nations. Let us not be discouraged by not seeing results, but be encouraged that we have done whatever we can. The good spirit of the mighty Almighty will spread the goodness to all of us. Love and light to all of us, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr.
Amen.
Thank you. Amen.
Pray for divine healing from brokenness. woundedness, and negative patterns of all our ancestry. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you so much. See you again next weekend with Dr. Busai.
Amen, Reverend Michael.
Thank
Amen,
you so
Reverend
much.
Michael.
Bye. Bye.
Good day,
Mama
Miss
Emilia. Emilia Bywaters. Daily Nugget.
Emilia, do I have an award?
I was actually looking forward to your
yes,
comment
Pepe.
and question.
Everyone gets a certificate, Pepe. Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Where is my certificate and trophy? Where is my trophy?
Register. It would be mailed to you. Register.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good
Mrs.
night.
I guess
Mr.
Mrs.
Michael,
Nancy.
you can stop recording.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well done, madam. We appreciate you.
Yes,
I want to say to
The recording
Miss
has
Nancy
stopped.
Oblete, really, I learned a lot from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much.
I will see
I've always been an
how I
inspiration.
can contribute in my own ways.
Yeah.
As I promised, Patricia, I will do my best.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you
wonderful,
so much.
blessed night.
Miss Nancy will keep in touch after this.
Yes, in fact, I have plans to.
I wanted to ask you guys if any studies has been done in Africa on the abuse of those housemaids by the older bosses.
That's a big problem.
That's my area. That's my area. And if you ask whether they've done researches, the truth is there has been a lot of research in Africa, definitely a lot about child labor and all this housemaid. But then there are a few studies that actually give. I think the problem with Africa, right? Research is meant about bringing out the problem, talking about the issues on ground, and also give suggestions, right? But I noticed that
implementation.
Exactly. So I noticed that the problem we have in Africa regarding this particular topic is implementation. We have a lot of child support, child welfare societies, but are they really working? Right? They're not really working. It's all about telling us that this one was created in 1990, whatever. It has run, but are they really working? And just for personal experiences, right? It's not like directly kind of experience stuff. It's kind of indirectly, because I believe as an African, most of us have watched and we know about these child domestic workers. In fact, for Nigeria alone, in one particular state, it's more like it's a common scenario. It's a common thing you see. In most like every household, 6 out of 10 households must have a housemaid, right? And we see those things. So I saw a lot of them growing up. So we know those things. The problem is, even if you have to report, even if you have to do something about this, maybe they get the person arrested and later they release them. You still release this child back to the abuser, right? So it's still the same thing I'm saying, that we need this social workers that are really working in Africa. Because the reason why social workers are there is like we take these children because we know that they've been abused, they can't be taken care of, and hand over to the social workers. They stay with them where they feel safe, and the government take care of them. But we don't have all those things. So we actually have a lot of research, but it's not really working.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
But that's why I was saying a special school. Pepe, what you're saying is the same thing. They should be taken away and put in a special place.
The other thing that we have to also consider in our African community is we are at a time and space where politics kind of detects a lot of, it kind of defines a lot of things in our communities and how certain things are done. So we are caught up in an issue of the haves and the have not, so much that even if you are to do a study right now and you actually try to put up ideas of what needs to be implemented and everything. I remember there was one young lady that I used to mentor. She stays in Zambia. She wrote when she was in the UK for her master's, she wrote up a research on the domestic workers and everything. And when she came back to try and implement it, she decided she's going to start off by registering her own organization that comes with sets of rules and everything of guiding and protecting the domestic workers and everything. And all these maids and everything, she'll be the one who actually appoints them and make follow-ups on them and everything. And you know what they did? There's a set standard as to how the maids should be paid. So when a maid comes through her, they negotiate a lower price. And then when the maid decides to go without going through her, they decide to pay her a higher price. So meaning that all maids ended up deciding to actually just go the route their own without going through her. So basically that means whatever she was trying to implement ends up like no way at all. So you see, even in Botswana right now with SOS used to be very, very strict when it was still governed by the white people that had initially started it. But when it was handed over now for Botswana to take part in actually running it, the government to take part in running it, then certain rules had to be changed and certain ways of doing things had to be changed. Basically meaning I've been running a program for street kids called Spot a Child. And you'll be surprised, most of the kids we were taking out of the street were SOS children. So basically you realize that whatever way you try to fight it, you will always hit a rock somewhere on the other side that will take you back to whatever that you're trying to fight.
May I ask you, at what age are these children, these particular ones you're talking about? What age?
You see, the thing is this, in Africa, there's no regulation. People take children to come and be to come and be house helps 10 years, some even 9 years. They pick them up from their parents. Yes, there are no regulations. These people are in the villages. Some of them cannot even afford a 3 square meal. So if there's somebody that can take the child and at least give the child 3 square meals, provide clothing for them and everything, they are happy to release the children to those people. There's a lot of dysregulation, a lot of, where there's no law, people are free to do what they do. Now, even when you have cases of real-time abuse, the challenge is that we don't have structures that are functional, that you can take these people and put in there. Like, for example, if you talk about shelters, yes, even in Nigeria, there are few shelters for women and children in abusive situations. But the shelters are few, they are underfunded. Then you are wondering how long will these people stay in this shelter? Who takes care of their feeding and all? So some of them run away and eventually come back because they don't have anywhere to go. So there are a lot of things from the government level to when you talk about policies that need to be put in place and all, and implementation is a whole large challenge. It cannot be addressed from one small place. For example, because I work with couples, so sometimes I have people that experience really severe domestic violence, and I want to remove the woman from the marriage or help the woman to leave the marriage. Sometimes it becomes challenging. The family would refuse to accept it. Now that's a problem. I don't know if it's general with Africa, because it's not in Sierra Leone where I come from. But in Nigeria, some families will say, God forbid, we cannot have a divorce in our families against our family norms. We will disown you if you leave your husband. So stay in the marriage and bear it. We will talk to the husband to keep changing. So they keep talking, but nothing is happening. The lady now is now torn between, I cannot afford to live alone with 3 children or 4 children. I don't want to continue in this marriage, because continuing this marriage is also death. I cannot go back to get family support. Some of them have money is not their problem. It's the support that they lack from family that make them stay consistently in that place. And their children are being abused because sometimes these men also rape and abuse the children, their own children in those marriages. Yes, I think that there's a case right now that we just handed over to the lawyer. The man has been sleeping with his two children.
It's very common.
He has been sleeping with his two children, and he beats the wife, he rapes her, he does everything to her, and he does it to the children. But the challenge is that there are no structures. You want to remove these people. Where do they stay? How do they feed? All those other things. Their family, no support. Nobody from the family is encouraging or saying, okay, at least I will be there as moral support. So it's a multifaceted challenge.
Okay, I will say something. Coming from China, hello, can I say something?
Yes, yes.
I've been here 20 years. The same problems I'm hearing, what you're talking about, have been here in this country. That is now so wonderful, and so many new laws, and they're really dealing with all these small things that in the past were a problem. You see, but what I've noticed is the ones who are opening these NGOs or their diaspora. Most of the times, these meetings where I went to and these women's organizations, they are diaspora. So, as I asked you, Patricia, remember in our WhatsApp meeting, I told you that it's so important to call the diaspora. I wasn't saying it because of what? Because I've seen it here. All these things were happening here. I mean, that even teachers, how many kids have not committed suicide because they're being raped by their teachers? You know, most of the Chinese, they were put in boarding schools, right? Most of the times it's not in your own village. And then they were being abused by their teachers. It's only now, I think 2 years ago, they start putting laws that stops this, that you can report it. And there are so many teachers that were then in jail because of this. A lot of things, parents beating their children and all these things, now they're dealing with it. So I think it needs time, but first start with calling your diaspora to action. You, before them, create these NGOs. Sometimes the diaspora don't know what's going on, but you can start and ask for a partnership. A partnership. Make this list and start asking people like us here in China to start spreading it for you, because you alone cannot spread it. You will need the diaspora. You don't know. Maybe I have an uncle in who knows which Western countries who can help. Maybe Emilia, she's from America. She might know organizations there that she can connect you to that can help. And then slowly you spread from there, because this, I'm talking China. China is almost like the United States. Only their states they call provinces. And slowly but surely, in these 20 years, I've seen it happen. So don't give up. I believe, seriously, I believe. Right now, we are looking at what is the problem, right? The second that we must do is we must start creating NGOs. Create them and look for partnerships in these NGOs. I think, and I strongly believe it can happen.
So Miss Nancy Oblet, so this, for example, this father abusing the children sexually in Nigeria, is the system set up so that you call the police and the police come and arrest a man and put him in jail?
They would come and arrest him, right? If you call the police, they'll come arrest him, but eventually he will be freed. Because first of all, the wife doesn't have the resources, or she doesn't even have she's not in the mental space to pursue a case. The state will not pursue a case here without substantial input, even financial, from the victim. So he will be released. In fact, this particular man has been reported. He works in a military, in one of the military arms. He had been reported to his superior. He had signed an agreement or an undertaking that he will never do that again, but it's still happening.
It's a matter of mental illness.
Yeah, very true.
We're dealing with mental illness, which is another issue.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
Because
the challenge is that the children are victims.
As far as I know, yeah, as far as I know, if you commit such crime and you get reported, definitely you will be arrested. And I'm not sure you're going to be released unless they just get you arrested in those local police stations, right? But if your case ever, if they call the right people, the human rights, the people that actually work on these things are the human rights. That is why we tell people that when you have such case, know the right people to call. You don't just go to your local police, those ones that don't even know what's the laws, right? And you call them to come and arrest your husband. A man that will be there, they will ask him for money. He doesn't have. They say, I bet release this one. I bet we don't know what's the family problem. You get, but you know the right people to talk to. If such case ever enter human rights, they don't care whoever you are. Even if you are son of a politician, they must fight and fight you enter jail. That is the truth. So I think most people that are in this case that get released is because they don't call the right people. They just go to.
I think the other thing that I have to make
the right information, they don't even have it.
The other thing that I have to make you aware of is you have to realize that in most countries in Africa, there is the customary law and the legislation. So most of the time you find that there is a contradiction between the customary law and the legislature. You can have a case of that man that molested or raped her daughter, and then you have it reported to the police. But then when it comes now under the customary law says the issue can be spoken from home. So basically, when it comes to a point where it's a contradiction of the legislature and the customary law, and the police releases it to the customary law, then that means it goes unsolved. Because if you say my child was molested but was raped by the father, and we are going to speak it at home, the same father who is said to be the head of the family, that means when we get home, we don't get to say anything. It ends like that. They do the same thing again, and they know the police will always release it up down to the customary law. So in most of the African countries, when colonization came, they decided not to cancel out the customary laws. So the customary laws, they are still speaking out of the norms of culture. And culture would say certain things, will justify certain things one way or the other. So once it gets to the police will release it down to the customary law. So that's how we still have those cycles of fathers, uncles molesting their children and them never getting sentenced or never getting incarcerated. Because one way or the other, it always gets released down to the customary law.
You know, Patricia, you are right. Because even in Nigeria here, if you get married, the Nigerian law does not recognize every law as law under the Act. It's only registry law. And then even when you do church marriage, depending on the church you do the marriage, there are 3 conditions that must be met for that marriage to be considered under the Act. Those 3 conditions are: the building must be a building for church. You cannot, like over here, you find people renting shops, renting malls and using it for church, or they use hotel halls for church. Now, the law does not recognize those places as churches. Anybody that gets married there gets married under customary law, whether they know it or not. If the priest who is conducting the wedding does not have a certificate or license to conduct marriages, the marriage will be recognized as marriage under the customary law. Then the third thing is that the building must have been inspected and categorized or classified for joining wedding, and then the church must be registered. Now, the funny thing is that these are the laws for marriage, but they are not the laws for establishing church. CAC will register a church. That's the organization responsible for registering NGOs and corporate bodies. We register a church that does not meet these 3 criteria, that church will join a wedding when they have a problem and they want to appeal to court, they get to court and discover, oh, your wedding cannot be addressed as under the act because it was a customary wedding. The church you got married did not meet these conditions. There are a lot of underlining little things that have not been put in place that makes it challenging.
Yeah, I want to ask you. I want to ask you, Patricia. Like in the court, right, addressing issue of abuse. Do you think the law would not attend to you because you are not legally married? I don't think so. I think they actually, as far as you're cohabiting with the person and you have a child and you abuse
Yes,
someone,
I thought so too.
yeah, I don't think they care about whether you're legally or not legally married. They care about the what you committed, the crime you committed.
Theoretically, yes. Theoretically, yes, Pepe.
I think those small churches only come to play. Let's say you want to travel, right? The certificate of your travel marriage, it can't be recognized. They can't tell you that you can't get the certificate, you can't travel because your church is not recognized. I think that's where they have the issues.
I think it goes down to the laws per country. Because you see right now in Botswana, like in Botswana right now, if you are looking for a piece of land and you are married, let's say you are married and you separated with your husband but never legally divorced, and you go looking for a piece of land, you can't get the land without your husband being here. If you go to a bank looking for a loan, you can't get it without your husband being here. So
really?
You look at it, but when it comes to issues of abuse, if you go to the police right now and you say, you know, my husband beat me, blah, 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 and the in-laws come to the same police station and say, we understand that you received a case that our daughter was beaten or our son beat up so-and-so's daughter and stuff. We are the parents of these two, and we decided we'll talk the issue from home. That is taking the issue from legislature to customary, which is fully allowed. So they come, they say, we'll talk it at home. When they get home, nobody says anything. They leave you here with the same abuser.
That's what I wanted to say, Pepe. Pepe, theoretically, it should be that way. But like right now, Miss Nancy Oblet lives right there with the reality. We are here in China. We are not right there to see what exactly is going on in reality. Like right now, Miss Patricia, you are in Botswana right now, right?
Yeah.
So these people that are there in Africa, they see it in real time, what's going on, not what the theories of the book says, not what should be done, not what should be done. Unfortunately, case after case, when the law should be taking care of this family, protecting this family, they lazily fall back into the custom of what they're saying here. This is really a sad story. It's a social issue that I don't know how we can solve that.
Yeah.
How
it's
can
like
you return?
Right now, Ms. Bywaters, you look at it, you mentioned earlier about child labor. When in Botswana, adoption is not allowed. The law of Botswana doesn't allow adoption. But I'm allowed to be a guardian. That means I can take somebody's child and just be a guardian, but I can't adopt them as my own child. So the law behind me being a guardian doesn't say anything in regard to me making this child work for me or putting this child into in any form of labor in the house. So one way or the other, you find that people would go to the rurals and collect your 10-year-olds, your 8-year-olds, with the idea of having them as guardians and giving them a different lifestyle in towns, only for them to come and be maids in towns. Same applies to them that are having farms. They'll go and collect the children in the villages and go lock them up in their farms. So you look at the laws, theoretically it says no child under 18 years is supposed to work. That's the law. But at the end of the day, when they come in and I'm like, this is my sister's child, I'm keeping her, I'm staying with her, I'm her guardian. There is nothing around that law that protects that child.
Unfortunately. And like they said, laws are made, I guess, to be broken. as well. You know, I have one of my nieces right now. She used to run away from home a lot in America, and she would like go to the police, report her father for not feeding her, and will go stay with my brother, and then will go report my brother for this, for that, for that. You know what the law did? She in her fantasy mind was thinking, oh, the law is going to go and put me in this very rich family where I can eat very well. It didn't work that way. They always will ask her, do you have any other family members here in America? And she would say, yes. Who? She would always give my name. 10 million times I will see the police outside my house. Emilia Bywaters, and my middle name is Mpo. Emilia Mpo Bywaters, I will say yes. We have Josiane Mpo here with us. We are here to return her to her family. And she would look at the police and be like, I told you, don't take me to my family. Take me to some foster home, some rich foster home. And the police will say, we are sorry, as long as you have your family. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, what if I had been abusive? Here they would be returning this girl to the family. So even the law is here returning this kid. Well, it turns out she had her own mental issue. But I guess my point is saying sometimes the law just wants to wash their hands and just go dump the kid in
You know, if I
the
can
fire.
give you an example similar to that one.
Yeah.
During the time when we were on lockdowns, I work a lot with kids in schools.
Network.
Hello.
Hello.
She
Yeah,
says
hello.
she sends me a message. She's like, can you please call me? I call her. She's like, you know, I'm having an issue that I want us to talk about. So she's like, but I'm not comfortable to you right now where I am. Okay, can you step out and go somewhere where we can talk? A few minutes later, she calls. She starts telling me that she's being abused at home. Her uncle has been raping her ever since we got on lockdown. So I'm like, okay, fine. How do I get to this child? I go to the police. I'm like, I need a travel warrant right now. I need to go. They're like, we can't issue that one because everybody is on lockdown. Okay, fine, I understand. Then can you assist me? They're like, okay, fine, how do we assist you? I'm like, okay, I have a child in such and such a place. The place is like close to 70 kilometers from Gaborone. I'm like, I have a child in such and such a place. I give the direction to their home. I'm like, this child is staying with the grandmother and with the uncle. So basically she's saying that in her case, the uncle has been sleeping with her ever since we got on lockdown. So I would really love you to over the police in the neighborhood, in that neighborhood, to go and investigate and maybe take out that child to a place of safety. If not, if there's no way you can take her, I understand everybody is on lockdown. If there's no way you can take her, can the police please transport her to my house? I'll find a way of dealing with her and sending her back post-lockdown. Guess what? The police leave, they go home. When they get to their home, to their house, they meet up with the uncle. They tell the uncle, we understand there's a child in this house who is being raped by the uncle. So we came to hear what's the problem. They're telling the same uncle who is raping the child.
I have something to say.
That girl is insane. And then the police are sent back. A day later, I'm calling the child, girl, did you get any help? I didn't hear any feedback. What's happening? She's like, the police came, but this is what happened, blah, blah. Just as I was talking to her, somebody comes take her phone. Throughout the lockdown, there was no way to connect or to communicate with her.
I tried to send the police back there, like, you don't know these kids. You don't understand these kids. They're just going to keep making you run around. There's no rape that's happening in that home. Immediately after lockdown, kid went to school for only 1 month. After a month, she was pregnant. She committed suicide.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I have something to say, Mrs. Obleti.
We are trying. It all ends up in the laws of those that, in the hands of those that can, and then it bounces on a wall back to you.
Mrs. Obleti, Nancy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I would like to say something. I don't know if I'm free to talk.
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah, boy child.
So please, before I continue.
No men allowed. No men allowed. Women only. Just kidding.
It's for women. It's for women.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's for women or for men, so I cannot wait to
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think it's a women.
Don't worry, you still have
I'm sorry for joining the women program, but I thought it's for men. I later discovered I'm in the wrong group. But anyhow. Okay. I want to contribute something very important, but before that, let me ask you a question. I will use your answer to contribute. So, what do you think should be the right thing for an abuse of a woman? What do you think should be the right thing to be done according to the law?
Yeah, so this is the thing. A person brings a complaint of abuse. There has to be evidence, of course, because some people, we cannot exclude the fact that some people would have reasons to claim that they were beaten while they were not beaten. So are there evidences, are there witnesses? If those things are in place and we have found them to be so, right now in Nigeria, I personally don't know I think it's only when the person dies that there is a law for a manslaughter or murder or something. But the person is injured and everything, battering, right? So probably they will be charged under battering. Now, but the challenge is this usually is when they come to report those issues and there's beating and there's that, the man sometimes doesn't even need to plead innocent. I have somebody that is very close to me, a family person that had that issue. They went to social welfare to report. She was asking for a divorce, had been beating them and is also neglecting them and not providing for them and all. The so-called social workers that were supposed to take up the case, since she had evidence and move it up, chose to become marriage counselors to reconcile the marriage. So they started calling them in for meetings, like meetings upon meetings, to talk over the issue, over their problems, until they got tired and stopped going. So, but ideally, the law is supposed to say, if there is this, then the first thing is to remove the victim to safety. Because even coming to report is enough for the person to get angry and increase the violence. The rate of violence could go up as a result of that. So remove the person to safety. Then the next thing is, what do the both of you want? If they want to come back, then they go for therapy, individual therapy, work on anger management, do whatever they need to do. Then maybe do a couple therapy and then try the marriage again. If they are unwilling to stay together, then a separation has to happen, which eventually will be followed with a divorce. Usually those are supposed to be the processes that are followed. So does that give you
okay?
Yeah.
That's it. You know, the answer was so long. I was trying to, you were carrying me up and down, but anyhow, I understand your point.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, yeah, sure. But I want to say something based on that area.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Emilia can testify. Like this is just my short knowledge on this part. You know, in the US, like someone told me in real time, like that in their park, in the park or wherever, that there are some people we call charge and bail lawyer. That's what they call it in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So in the US, there are many. Okay, so there are many lawyers who are going to ask people in the park, for example, hey, young boy, like, madam, your son, last week he fell down from here, right? So he fell down from that sharp curve. Maybe the park has somewhere that was not properly designed. So those lawyers, their job is to go and look for problems and sue. Okay.
I know about that. Yes, they are horrible.
Okay.
Do you have
I
that in
also
Nigeria? By
heard
the way?
about that. Yes, they are everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
they're
their
very
job
good.
is to go and
That's
look
a
for
good one,
anywhere.
actually.
I even heard that. Yeah, I even heard that they banned some particular drink in 1960 something. So those lawyers will go back in history and look. Maybe the company changed their name since 1960. Maybe they made a fake drink, so they'll try to relate to the future. So what I'm trying to say is, maybe the solution for all these things could be we should have more legal system, so that people can be reporting case. Because just imagine if I know that I touch a woman or I abuse anybody, if I know that there are lawyers who are watching me, I will do the right thing.
Okay, I get your point.
Okay, so to cut the story short, what I'm trying to say is maybe there should be many entrepreneurs, lawyers that are looking for problems to solve in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Either women, because so many abuse. I think you're in Nigeria. So many men abuse women, right? Or children.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So
Well,
I don't have a
okay,
solution for that, but I think it is more legal. Okay.
there is only
Okay.
one problem with what you're saying, and that is
Okay.
in Nigeria already a system where they can really make money on that?
That's the challenge,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, because if you go
Okay.
and look for a problem, you have them to bring them to court, and there's no money coming out of it, only that the person goes to jail. You will be hungry. Plus, people will chase you. Who knows, murder you or whatever. You see, in America, they are protected. That's what I'm saying. Maybe we are running sometimes. I know what you're saying. It can be a solution later, but for right now, come on, pick your brains. Let's look for solutions for right now.
Okay.
What's on the ground?
I think
Okay,
for right now,
I
we need to
remember.
do a lot of education, even for families. Because where I come from, this is also there, so I'm not going to say it. But where I come from,
No. Go ahead and give us information so that we can learn. Go ahead, please.
So maybe we can help.
I'm Limba
No,
by
please.
tribe.
I want you to say that particular word. Give us information, please.
I'm
Please.
Limba by tribe from Sierra Leone, right? So when you come to a wedding, according to our culture, you are not told how much dowry to pay. But the family will not collect whatever they think is too much, because they say you don't close their mouth with your money. And it is a law. During the ceremony, the father will tell the in-laws, because usually the man is not there, it's his in-laws that come to, it's his people that come to marry for him. He will tell them, if my daughter does anything, don't touch her, return her home. We will handle it.
The money.
Yes. No, the money is them that will return it, not me. Right?
Okay.
Yes, they say return her, we will handle it, but don't touch her. If she's not maimed, let her remain that way. If the man doesn't listen, now this is something that was done to my grandfather, that was, at the time, he was heir to the throne, chieftaincy throne. If he doesn't listen, what happens is, where you are living, they give their daughter a guardian, somebody she can run to. So if she has run to her guardian once, twice, the third time for the same beating, maybe you've been beating her, the guardian will advise her to go home. She goes home, she runs home, and then they will just wait for the husband to come. Now they put look out as he's coming.
Is the guardian a man or woman? Sorry. It could be anybody, right?
Guardian can be anybody. It can even be a family. Most of the time it's a family, not just an individual. So when the man comes, like, to come and ask why his wife is not at home, or to complain or whatever, he will be accosted on the road and beaten first, because that's the same thing he has been doing to their daughter before they come to have that conversation and all. So it's a law. You don't touch their girls. They even say it's even like a proverb or a byword. Limba for them girl picking. You don't touch them, right? So from a cultural place, there's a kind of protection that the girls have. Now, if you look at the Nigerian space, there's hardly that. look at Igbo, for example, after collecting that much money for as dowry
Money.
and all, yes,
Okay.
it kind of like closes the mouth of the in-laws. They find it difficult to put their feet down on certain things. So I think that education, starting from that level of family, to say it doesn't even necessarily have to be divorce that is the solution to the violence. It can be showing this person that we are serious about this by saying, go for anger therapy. After that, do therapy. Let's be sure that you can manage your anger enough to stay, because nobody can guarantee that another person will not get you angry. But your choice is how you respond to the anger that you feel. So if we can start from that place, because if we are looking at how to curtail this on a bigger scale, it may be really challenging. We have laws to deal with, we have institutions to put in place and all, but just education so that families can be more receptive, families can be more supportive to people that are having these experiences. They can run home and talk to their people about it.
Man, actually, I'm sorry to talk again. I'm very happy because, you know, just last week, just a short experience from based on what you said. Just last week, somebody called me from Nigeria and said that the man has been beaten, that any shot they are fighting is a war in the house.
Yeah.
So when I heard the news, so I told the it's a terrible situation. So I called the boy or the man, wherever the case. I'm like, why do you fight with the woman? You know? When I hear the story why he fight with the woman, I can't even tell you the reason. It's a very useless reason. Maybe somebody put the remote control of TV somewhere in the wrong place, you know. So I just advised the girl. I know maybe she didn't listen, that if it happened again, you leave, you quit, because how can people be fighting living in a roof? So from my observation, the girl does not want to quit the marriage, but it's harmful. She could die or something could happen someday. So well, I don't know what to say in terms of negative, but I think it's not. I think if there's a law that there is a strong law to that, then the guy should probably, then if there's a strong law, like I watched some movies in the US or in the UK whereby the kids go to school, the police come to the school to ask the kids question, then the kids even report the parents.
Yes.
Maybe there's a violence, you know, there's some check, you know, some kind of check. Maybe to be a good one, they have a lot of check as well.
Yeah. Because children actually talk about those things in school. They say, oh, my dad used to beat my mommy.
Yeah.
Oh, my dad used to beat my mommy yesterday. You know, so it will really work.
Yeah. Wow. But what do you think? I think it's PP said, okay.
Nancy,
what do you think? Is this violence?
Something, huh?
Okay.
How are you spreading information?
Okay, well, for me, I have platforms.
How are you spreading information?
I have platforms. I have platforms. I have a podcast. I do a radio program as well. Then I have a community on Facebook where I do Facebook Live and all. So even though I don't focus specifically on violence, but it's part of the things I cover, because I talk about marriages generally. So anything that affects marriages, abuse and all, they are all part of the things I talk about. So I have episodes that have been dedicated to talking about violence, what can be done, even the issue he raised about people not wanting to leave a violent situation. There are many reasons why people will stay in a violent marriage. One of them is they also grew up in a violent home. So it's normal, it's what they are used to. So they stay there. Some of them believe that they are defective in some ways, or it's their fault, or they are responsible for what is happening. So there's a lot of psychology, a lot of other things that are mixed up right in there, why some people would stay even when they have solutions to move out. This is something that is even known, even in the US and in the UK, that they have these structures. Some people will not leave, they will cover up for the abuser and do not leave. So for me, that's basically what I do, advocacy. I talk about it, I teach and
Okay, what
Well,
can we do here for you? Because I
Mrs.
know
Oblate.
Mr. Trade Show IoT is very good at anything that has to do with internet. How can he help you to spread this information?
well, one of the ways is like get more people to listen to me. Maybe like my podcast. I have a podcast. I just started the podcast newly because initially I was just on radio, but the radio is limited. It's just in one state in Nigeria. So I started the podcast in November. But get more people to listen to the podcast. They would get to hear this information more, and then the word can spread around.
Okay, Alice.
How about,
okay,
is it
sure.
possible that you have contacts with schools?
Yeah, okay. Right now, I have not done much with schools, but it's not something that is I have colleagues that I can work with.
Because soon the football.
Okay, Miss Oblate, I want to share maybe a contribution this time.
Yeah.
How do I say it now? In the US, I keep putting reference to the US, but that's where they get proper information from.
Yeah.
In the US, some group of people, I don't want to give them a name, they went to, because the rate of divorce is too much there. So somebody prepared a questionnaire, okay, it's a fact already, and took, there's a way you prepare questionnaire, you would be able to get some formulas from that questionnaire.
Yes.
For example,
yes.
I want to do, for example, I create a questionnaire on you because I want to know if you're a happy person or you're an angry person. They say, wow, arrange question.
Mm-hmm.
So they arranged a questionnaire, and the person they took it to the prison. Okay, so they interviewed all those that are in jail. They asked them questions. Okay, for example, what's your age? What brought you here? Where's your mother? Where's your father? So to cut the story short, so after thousands of people fill that form or wherever, then the person observed some sequence. So the sequence was everybody, about 90% of the people who feel that they are not living with their father were in prison.
Yes.
So cut the story short again, then a fact came out and said, if you are an American black and you are not living with you are being grown by a single mom, you have about 90% chance to go to jail.
Yes.
So my view is, maybe, I don't know, just a suggestion, maybe you can try to get a questionnaire. I mean, I don't know how you're going to arrange a question. I mean, having those people, so that, because I don't know, so that we can get some patterns of why this abuse. Because if you ask me, like I talked to the guy last week, if you ask me, I will tell you that it is lack of understanding. Because I don't see why a man should be fighting with a woman, or a woman should fight with a man in the same house.
Yes.
I don't see reason.
I think that's a very good idea to do a questionnaire, to follow through and get to know the reasons why these things happen. Actually, I've been doing that on a small, because the people I meet, I interview them. In fact, even when couples come to me, I don't necessarily ask them about abuse direct. Sometimes, especially when we suspect that there's abuse. But I ask certain questions, and there are indices that go along with abuse, especially when there's severe abuse, because abuse has been categorized by John Gottman into two. That's physical abuse, violence. The first is what he calls situation.
Who is John Gottman?
He is a renowned, as in the foremost marriage researcher in the world. He spent 40 years researching marriages, why they succeed, why they fail. In fact, I follow him because he has science, has data, and I know you are like me, you like science, you like statistics, so you love him greatly. He's a scientist. He's a Jew, but he's an American, a Jewish American. So
okay.
So he classified it into two, right? Situational domestic violence. So when you said that the person that called you said they fight, most likely it's a situational domestic violence issue. They have poor regulation, and they are not able to co-regulate each other when they are having issues. So people get what they call flooded. That's, they get physiologically aroused. Their blood pressure, their heartbeat goes higher than 100 beats per hour. So once they get to that place,
wow.
their emotional brain takes over. Their logical brain like shuts down completely. So that's how they can have that kind of this. But usually, those kind of cases rarely leads to death or grave injuries, because it's a two-way thing. Many of the times, the woman is even the first to slap the husband, then the husband slaps her, then they have that fight and everything you get. So that's the first one, situational. Most of those people can be treated by going for anger management courses, and everything. Then the second one is characterological domestic violence. Now, that is a graver one. And according to his research, John Gottman's research, men are the largest perpetrators of this kind of violence. It comes from a character problem. So it's a psychological issue.
Why do you choose men? And why not women?
No, because it requires a higher level of violence. Women often don't have that strength to do that to men. Those are the people that can break bones, ribs and everything. They inflict severe injury on their partners. Now, most of them have underlying issues, either mental issues or trauma-related issues or something. There's a deeper reason for their violence. And then the
like
partner cannot predict when this violence is going to happen. They are unpredictable. You cannot determine, you cannot help. So like when usually like the advice in Nigeria, say you know what to do to stop him from beating you. That doesn't work with characterological domestic violence. They find it difficult to predict, but there are other indexes that go along with this violence. The person is also very controlling. They want to control the time, the energy, the resources of the victim. So like for me, that's one of my greatest pointers when I talk to people. Once the person the victim is beginning to minimize, reduce their activities for fear of being beaten, then it's more likely that this person has a characterological a domestic violence situation happening at home. So like I was speaking to a lady and she said that she got married just 6 months and the man started complaining that her work takes too much of her time. So she put somebody in the shop and stops going to the shop. She only goes to supervise for 1 hour or 2 once a week and comes back home. Then he collected her car and he's the one riding the car. When she comes home with money and everything, she has to give it to him. Like she submits the money to him. So that shows control outside that. Then most of them are also sexually violent. So they force themselves on their partners, whether you are interested or not, they want to have sex with you, they want to have sex with you, you don't have a choice. So those are some indices that go along with this violence. They are physically, they are verbally abusive as well, can use gaslighting, tell their partner terrible stuff you get. Those things are like they marry together. So when you begin to see a lot of these indexes, and that's how even single people, because we do premarital counseling too, even single people can begin to identify possible causes, possible domestic violence when they get married, when they begin to see these other signs, because the violence may not start immediately. So that's what I use. But then I think that what you said is really key, that within our own society too, we develop our statistics, we begin to find out what are the root causes, how do people end up becoming characterological, as in getting to that place where they become that kind of violent person that could end up killing their partners and all. So it's a good one.
Yeah, like again, yeah, sure. Everything you said is right. I would jot them down. And again, I observed something from some of the victims, like you said. I observed that the girl, based on my little observations on these guys, the girl, the both people, they didn't know each other for long before they get married.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be checked upon, because most of the girls, they are like, he was not like this before. So which means that I don't know, but I'm just imagining that they were not really like they didn't have a long. Because somebody who have a long relationship with someone, he should be she should be able to see it, like this kind of character coming.
Yes, you'll be able to see it, but then there are life-changing issues too that could alter a person's character. For example, let me give you the story of this man. He went to war. He was a war veteran. So obviously things happen in the war space, and he came back. And here we don't have a structure for rehabilitating war. They come back and they just integrate into the society. So he had so many underlying issues. He became really violent and started beating his wife, beating his children, things that were out of character before the war. You get. So sometimes there are those life-defining moments that can change somebody and sway them either way.
Okay. Wow. Man, thanks. This one is so. Anyhow? What is your link? Your podcast link? Maybe I will join your program.
Okay, so the podcast is simply Marriage Panacea. Marriage Panacea. You could get us on Spotify. I can send the link here too.
Yes, exactly. You can send the link.
Yeah.
Then Mrs. Nancy, I left some messages for you on WhatsApp. Okay. I think we can work together. Yeah, we can work with you. So just send the link.
Wow,
and then
that's good news. Hey,
yes. We are interested in what you are doing, and we give you a media backup, a media support.
Wow, thank you.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ria. Thank you.
My God, this is what I'm waiting for. Action from China. Come on.
Exactly.
Now I can go and watch my football. See how my country is.
Then we have Mrs. Libina Aloze in the house.
Where is she?
Mrs. Libina, are you there? Libina Aloze.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Michael, this is a very interesting topic.
Okay. Do you have anything to contribute?
Well, I didn't join from the beginning, so I was trying to catch up what you were discussing, but I think it's very, very interesting. It's something that I would like to, maybe when next you're having a program, I would like to join with some of my women. I have an NGO, Peculiar Friends Initiative. I would like them to also participate in such program, because we also advocate for gender-based violence and so many things that has to do with the home.
Okay.
Maybe you can work together now with Mrs. Nancy. Maybe you can join forces.
Yeah, I've shared the link to the podcast.
Wait one moment.
I can also share my phone number, my WhatsApp number for.
Second. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Where are you from?
Nigeria.
Yeah, so I've also shared my WhatsApp number.
Hello.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. This information you gave me now, I'll record it.
All right, sir. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'll record it down, and I'll be very careful.
Thank you so much.
Very careful. That's why women. I don't want to, I don't want to. I want to be very careful for women because these are dangerous people. Sorry. Ria.
What is dangerous? Look at you. You're traumatized already.
I thought you want to watch your football, Ria.
Look at you.
I thought you want to watch your football.
Sorry?
So why are you waiting for my? Why are you waiting for my end speech?
I'm listening to you. I'm watching you, huh? No, but Nancy, yeah, they're losing. Nancy really speaking ratio IoT. Yeah. He's very good. He can really help you a lot because that's his expertise,
sure.
and he will be dying to do a lot for you. If it comes to research, he can easily guide you, you know. I would say tap into that. Hello, are you still there, Miss Nancy?
I think,
Or she left
yeah,
us
I
already,
think
no?
she's still, no, she's still there, but maybe she's muted.
I'm here. Yes, I got you. I heard you. Please, can you
Uh-uh.
send his contact?
Sorry? Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh gosh, I don't hear it. Now I can hear you, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I heard you. I heard what you said. I just asked if you can share his contact.
He's there. Ask him. He's right there.
Okay. Sorry.
Constellation.
Yes,
Now
Constellation.
he's running
Yes.
away. Don't hide your face.
Constellation.
Constellation, come on.
Yes.
She wants your
Yes.
your details.
Yes, so that we can
He
talk
disappeared already.
after here.
Yeah, can you send her your contact information, maybe your WhatsApp? Constellation. Atman. Mike, he disappeared from me. Don't worry, you have Mike, you have him.
I will get his contact from Mr. Michael.
Sorry, yeah,
No,
sure. Sorry, I was
already
muted.
there.
Sorry.
It's on the chat. Look
I
at the
I
chat.
typed it just
He
now.
wrote
I'll
it
also
to you.
message you on WhatsApp now.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
That's what I was
thanks,
waiting for. Sorry that sometimes I'm so impatient, but they know me for my bad character.
Yeah, you are the people. You are the people that Nancy talked about just now.
What do you mean? What are you